this training is, you could go to um, let's say a chiropractor, right?
Mm.
You go to the chiropractor and you're like, oh, my back's locked up. You go in and he goes and adjusts your back and you feel some relief. Well, what I'm doing is, that's therapy, right? They're facilitating something to you to make you feel better. Well, what I do is, while I'm simultaneously taking you through it, I'm also stepping above and showing you exactly how I'm doing it.
Okay.
So you can take this modality and this form of like self-reflection and self-coaching and facilitate your own progress. And that's the purpose of it. Or that's my
That's
intention,
awesome.
is for people to receive the healing through that facilitation, but then also receive the skill set as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Teaching people how to fish,
Yep.
like giving
Yep.
them a tool that they can run with.
Yep. So
Yeah.
that is what I wanted to share with you today, man.
That's awesome. I mean, as we've talked about, that's what I'm going through, my part of the journey now. I'm at a certain point, but I still haven't really found what I consider my real groove. I've had some good things going on, but not really in the groove. So
Mhm.
I'm trying to break through, and that's kind of why I did the podcast in the first place. And I'm going through personal stuff that I'm trying to work through, and just like everyone else. So just kind of bring people along the journey. So this is great. I love stuff like this.
Yeah, dude.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
so the first thing that I want to do is, I'm going to kind of explain to you how this session works.
Okay.
And then we'll and then once you kind of understand it, then we'll just press play and start going.
Awesome.
So
Yeah. I'm totally open. I have no idea exactly what this is, but I'm open to, you know, check it out. And yeah, so I'm all ears.
dope. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of just set intentions. You kind of already kind of stated like where you're at, but we'll dive in a little deeper just for 5 minutes, just to kind of see where we should start. Um, then I'm going to be sharing with you the meta model of the world, or the universe as I see it. So what's really
Okay.
interesting is like right there is my dog, and I would call that my dog. But in Spanish, it's called it's a perro. Perro is a dog, and so we have disagreements and stuff because we're not speaking the same language. It's hard to communicate. And what's really tricky is, even though we both speak English, we're not speaking the same language. And so in order for two people to connect their intelligence, their wisdom, and their vision, they need to be, they have to be using the same symbols and stuff.
Right.
So what I'm going to share with you is how I sort out the universe to make sense to it and give names to things. So when we're accessing
Mhm.
when we're accessing the all the different levels of our consciousness. So after
Cool.
I go through kind of how I sort out the universe, then we're going to talk about how creation happens, like layer by layer, how anything in
Okay.
the history of anything was ever created. And then I'm
Okay.
going to share with you like the pitfalls, in that. Then I'm going
Okay.
to share with you the one mechanism that, if you get this mechanism right, everything in your life gets better. And
Okay.
it's
Cool.
and then from there I'm going to share with you like how precise language works. And then we'll drop into a session.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay.
This first part takes about like 30 or 40 minutes, so then we'll have like an additional like hour plus
Okay.
to go through some stuff. And
Cool.
then we'll talk about like what your next steps are, whether you do like what are some things you can do on a daily basis to help you continue to move forward.
Okay.
And also I'm going to share with you, I've got a what's it called, I have a retreat in Utah and one in Illinois, and I'll be doing, and I do these retreats like every year. So If you
Okay.
can't make it to one of those or whatever, if you feel it's beneficial for you, then sometime in the future as you continue to work on this, it'd be super useful to like do something like this on steroids. So talk to me just a little bit about like, where, what this next phase of your life, means to you, where you feel like you're getting stuck, what it is that you truly want. Um, yeah, just kind of dive into like what's coming up next for you in your life.
Yeah, I would say I've kind of been thinking back about choices and how I've looked at things in life and end up where I am, and I think a lot of it I've been able to do pretty well without putting in 110% effort. So I would say I've always been able to get like a B plus, A minus type of result on things, whether that was, school and stuff was easy. Um, I've been in sales for almost 20 years now, and I've done pretty well. But it's when that happens, you expect things to kind of come easily. I was pretty good at sports when I was a kid. Not where I would be professional or anything, because I never put in that level of effort. Who knows what I would have done. But like, oh, okay, hey, pretty good, and wasn't that hard. But that I realized that's really bad, because it's an easy comfort level, and that's why now in my life I'm trying to push myself out of that zone. I just read a book by David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me, and he was saying people, in his estimation, at about 40% effort, they start getting the little doubts and they stop there. And I'm thinking, I thought I was giving 80%. Shit, maybe I've only given 40%. And that kind of scares me. Like, man, I have another 60% I could be giving in all aspects of my life. So I'm trying to get to that level of execution in everything, whether it's kids, work, relationships, creative things, everything. I want to give that level of effort, and I want to find my groove. I've got a lot of interests, but
Yeah.
what is my unique groove that I have based on all the interests and all the stuff that I can do? And then what happens if I give that, 100%? So it's self-discovery. It's I think it will result in more money and all that, but I realize too that that's not actually my main goal. Of course, who doesn't want to make more money? But I don't care about doing that to show off, or like I don't have anyone to impress that I know of. So everyone has that a little bit, I guess. So I'm not dismissing that, but I don't have that as a main drive. So I just want to be my real self, and go 100% in all those things, and make things better, share with other people those things that I have. And that's maybe sounds general, but that is what I'm trying to do in every aspect of my life. And I'm in the second half here, and so I want to go out swinging, man. 100%.
Dope.
That's it.
Awesome. So what's so cool about this, bro, is no matter how general or specific, we will get to the thing. And here's the awesome thing about precise language is, as long as you're participating, you will get progress 100% of the time. So I'm so excited to have this conversation with you and help you move forward in your clarity and in your excitement, and through just like in not only just like the clarity of mind and new mindsets and frames like that. That's nice and all, right? But like, what's the fucking plan, right? Like, what are my next steps? Like, and then like, what is it truly at the end of it? What is it that I want to have, and why?
And what you're saying right there is very important, because that's another thing that I realized some things I've really pursued. Like earlier on, I wanted to be a pop star, and I have an album in iTunes, and I put a lot of effort into that. But I look back at my life so far, and a lot of it, opportunities kind of came in front of me, and I just kind of went with this, went with that. I wasn't super focused on executing one thing. And I feel like I need to control a little bit what my intentions are, as opposed to just kind of, hey, that sounds cool, I'll try that. I like being open, but by the same time, I can't just do anything and everything and have not
Right.
don't have a focus. So chasing too many
Yeah.
rabbits, and
Yeah.
that's been an issue. So yeah, on that topic, I definitely want to kind of explore that.
Awesome. Well, there
Cool.
are tons of open loops there are tons of open loops there, which are great.
Yeah,
Open loops call for or cause our attention to focus on something until it's closed. And when you go back and you listen to this after our precise language, I want you to listen to the first part of our conversation and hear all the open loops in there.
cool.
Um,
Cool.
and yeah, and what's so great, dude, is not only is this going to give you better clarity, better planning, better mindset, more definitive actions, a clearer plan, but it's also going to make you a much better communicator. It's going to make you a better father. It's going to make you, just a better partner, a better friend. And it's something that just like, it's one thing that leaks into every part of your life and raises it up. So excited to share this with you.
Cool.
So
Cool.
awesome. So, all right, we'll get into the next part here where I'm going to kind of share with you the kind of on a quantum level how the universe is divided up.
Okay.
So everything in the universe has this duality where it is both a particle and a wave. Everything.
Mhm.
So like this, my phone here, we call this solid, right? It's
Mhm.
something, right? It's got weight
Mhm.
to it. It's got shape to it. But if you go down to a quantum level, this is just a series of atoms, which it's mostly empty space. Okay,
Yeah.
and they're vibrating at a certain density, at a certain level that makes this thing solid, right?
Right.
Now, now just the same, your thoughts are vibrations. Okay,
Mhm.
now if you go down really really deep into a thought, it also has an atomic weight to it. There's actually a
Mhm.
physical weight to your thoughts.
Now
It's
that's
very
interesting.
it's very very. I mean, if all particles are waves, all waves are particles.
Okay.
And even though we can't sense it with our eyes, our ears, our taste, our touch, it does exist and it does affect us. Similar to Wi-Fi. Like you
Is it
can't,
is it something that is that something that dissipates? Like you have the wave, and there there's a particle or atomic aspect to that, but then it just dissipates, like your thoughts.
no, it emanates to the edges of the universe.
Okay, so like energy,
Mhm.
energy doesn't you don't lose energy or gain
Right.
energy. It just changes forms and it
Just
continues.
changes form. Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm going to share with
Okay.
you the 5 different forms of energy. Okay.
Okay.
So
Cool.
the first is, so we call these densities or dimensions. They actually, the meaning pertains to both. But the first density of material in the universe is physical stuff like plants. Okay. Now a plant is one dimensional because it simply just exists. It is the byproduct of the environment around it. So if a tree is growing on this block here and there's more sun on the other block, the tree can't be like, oh, I'm going to get more sun and go travel over there. It just has to exist. And it's the byproduct of its genetics and its external environment. So 1D, things that simply just exist. Okay.
Okay.
Now on the next level is creatures. Creatures are made of 1D material. They're made out of cells, right?
Mhm.
They're made out of material, bones and shit like that. But they have the ability to move. So there's another dimension to their existence. So they are genetic, but they also have instinct, the ability to make decisions based on their genetic code. And so like if there's a squirrel living in that tree and the squirrel's like, oh, there's more food over there, the squirrel can actually make moves and go do that.
Mhm.
Now, this is everything from ladybugs to beluga whales, to, gorillas and dolphins and all that stuff, creatures. In the third density is humans. We're made out of 1D material, made out of cells and bones and skin. We have instincts, the ability to move, but the next dimension is we have language. And this is super magical. This was like the very first like level of like singularity for humans. And what language allows us to do is not only connect and communicate, because like dolphins communicate and hedgehogs communicate and dogs communicate, but what we have is grammar. And what grammar allows us to do is be able to look into the past and learn from that and reflect on it. And it allows us to plan for the future and look into the future. So like, 1D and 2D creatures, they live in the now.
Right.
Mojo can't get excited about his birthday in May. It's just like, no, it's just right now. And when I
Right.
leave the house, he might be sad for a minute or so, but then he just sits there and, he doesn't miss my girlfriend from 5 years ago, and
Right.
said, oh man, it
Right.
would be good to see her again. So this gives us the ability to live in two-dimensional time. We can reflect on the past, and we can anticipate the future. Okay. The next level of consciousness, the next dimension, the next level of density is the ethereal realm. Now, this
Okay.
is the realm of which your thoughts exist, your feelings exist. And there are entities up in that fourth dimension, just like there are creatures there are animals, and there's all different types, and there's all different types of plants and stuff. There's also creatures up there. And I refer to those as angels and monsters.
Hmm.
Now, someone who is a bit atheistic, is that a word? I'm gonna go with it.
Good enough.
Are they're like, well, I don't believe in angels. Is that really true? It doesn't have to be true, because all I'm saying is we experience emotions in a voice in our head that wants us to feel happy. And we also experience voices in our head, like a self-talk that perpetuates pain and suffering.
Right.
So the way that these creatures work, again, they're on the fourth density. So just like our thoughts, you can't see your thoughts, but you can
Mhm.
experience them. We can't see Wi-Fi, but we can experience it right here, right?
Now, how much of these angels and monsters? How much of these are um, generated by our own mind or are external, like actual external energy, angels and
So
monsters?
it's both.
Okay.
It's both because we just as like I am Spencer. Like, who are you? Well, here I am right here. You can see my hands, you can see my body. Is that who I am? Or is who I am my character, my relationships, and my effect in the world? Is that who I am? Or is who I am my thoughts, my emotions? The answer is it's all me. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But we get to as humans, we get to experience all four of these realms at the same time. So, which I'll explain in a moment. But the difference between angels and monsters are ethereal 4D beings that feed off of your negative emotions. That's how they grow. That's how they sustain themselves. Angels feed off of your joy. Okay. And that's how they get bigger. Now, the fifth dimension, fifth density, is everything. It's the universe. Some people call it God. So every bit and particle and wave that is in this universe is 5D. It's the objective objective reality that we live in. Okay.
Mhm.
And just
Is
the
now
same.
is it possible for because I thought about this, is it possible for our mind or what our mind's capable of to really understand what everything is?
Mhm. That's what I'm gonna show you.
Okay. Okay, cool.
So here is the dopest part about being a human, bro. Being a human, we get to experience all five of these densities in one existence. And that's fucking awesome. The out of all the vibrations that are in this universe, humans get to be on the planet for 100 years out of 14.8 billion, so just like a blip, on the map.
Yeah.
And we're
Yeah.
the only creatures that get to experience all five of these in a single simulation. Like Mojo can't go grocery shopping and make a delicious meal. He can't do
Right.
it.
Right.
And angels can't get blowjobs. You know what I mean? Like they can't. But humans can experience the ethereal realm. We can experience the relational realm. We can experience the physical realm, and a cellular realm too. Like you have a body. You're made of stuff. So it's absolutely just an incredible experience. And the cool thing is, dude, even though we have genetics just like dogs that compel us to do certain things, the gift that God has given us, or that we were given to the universe, depending on what verbs or words you want to use, is we're little tiny slices of the universe that get the power to create, to consciously create whatever is in our imagination, the realm of all possibilities, and travel through that to create whatever it is that we want. And so if we're able to connect to all of these levels, then we can be completely fulfilled in our lives on all of these levels. It's making sense so far?
Yeah.
So were you raised any particular religion growing up?
Yeah. So a little bit of a couple of things. I went through the whole Catholic catechism thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then also I spent summers in the South. I grew up back east, Northeast, but I spent summers in the South where my mom was. So I went through the whole Baptist thing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I have
So
those two.
so every major religion has has a creation story. I mean, even like Greek mythology has a creation story. So I'll use the Christian one, just because that's the one I'm most familiar with and the one that you're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning, God was just like, he was sitting there and he felt this feeling of dissatisfaction. He was bored, right? He's like, all right, I'm gonna create stuff. Okay. So he he separates the light from the darkness, and he's like, okay, it's good. Next day, he creates the earth and the water. Takes a look at that. He creates the 1D, right? And he's like, awesome, great. So next, he creates the creatures, the animals, right? He's like, awesome, that's great. Then he creates man, and then Adam and Eve, and he's like, awesome, that's great. And then on the seventh day, he kicks back. But then he comes down, and he adds another dimension to this. So he's done 1D, earth, trees, plants, stuff. 2D creates the animals, the creatures. 3D creates the human, and now he creates the 4D, the world of morality, the world between good and evil, righteousness and sin. We'll talk about what that means in a second. And he says to Adam and Eve, he's like, all right, you can do whatever you want here, except one thing. Do not eat from that tree. Do not eat the fruit from that
apple.
Yep. So so they agree to it, and they go through the garden. And the serpent comes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a monster in the form of something physical. And he's like, hey, look, if you want to get one up on God, all you got to do is this, and you will become more powerful. So they decide to do that. They bite the apple. If you remember, what happens after that is they immediately realize that they're naked. And in the symbolism of that is they felt shame for the first time. They felt exposed. Right. They felt vulnerable. And then God was like, all right, well, I gave you the shot, and now you're kicked out of the garden forever. And so the whole story of the Bible is getting back to the garden. Okay, like, okay, you got kicked out. How do we get back?
Right.
Okay. So now at the beginning of time, if you take a look at the Old Testament, the rules are like, don't do this, don't do that, stay out of trouble, and like, yo, this is a dog eat dog world, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, like stick to your pack, like, if someone fucks you up, fuck them up back, because you got to survive. Now, if there's 100 people in a commune, right? We're all sharing resources and we're all pitching in, and everyone gets $1,000 a week to spend on whatever they want to keep them sustained. Everyone is equal. But if you want to get ahead of society, your best bet is to deceive someone to steal someone else's money, because now you got $2,000 a week and everyone else has 1,000. And amongst those people, now you're king. The more you deceive, the more you ascend as the most powerful man on the planet. And so the Old Testament was just like just a battle of competition. And then around, 0 BC or AD, whatever, the time of Christ. And by the way, it wasn't just Jesus that came in. In a few 100-year period, there were a number of prophets that were saying the same shit he was. And he was like, hey, look, I understand that it was eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But let me share with you something. If now we're living on that same island and everyone is in competition, so it's every man for himself, fuck you, and everyone's spending for themselves. If you want to get ahead in that environment, it is in your best interest to collaborate with someone. Because if it's every man for himself and me and you team up, we now
you have the advantage. Right.
And so Jesus came by and it's like, there's this pendulum swing where it's like, yeah, people are getting along, but also fighting, getting along, also competing. And when it gets to the height of competition, it then becomes advantageous to collaborate. And he's like, I'm telling you, the time is coming. Heaven on earth for 1,000 years is coming. And the new rules are love thy neighbor, turn the other cheek, love and forgiveness, collaboration. And for the past 2,000 years, the pendulum has been swinging back to the point where we all fully integrate, and we notice that we are separate, but we're part of a whole. This is what we call the golden age. And if you're familiar with the age of Aquarius, right? That started, I think, 1992. We're back into that pendulum swing to the golden age, the 1,000 years of heaven on earth, while we're still humans. And my position, my assignment from God is to bring people to that place. And so that's what I'm gonna share with you. Part of what I'm gonna share with you today is how to be in tune with yourself, and then in tune with the relationships you have to the universe. Not just the relationships between people, but the relationships that you have to coffee, to money, to your relationships, to your family, to your body, to your purpose, to your mission, all of those things. So, you tracking so far?
Yeah. This is interesting because I know these various pieces from different angles, but it's very interesting to hear you encapsulate this all into one story, with this angle. So let's keep going.
What's really cool about this, dude, is I received all of this information through channeling. Like none of this.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you how did you put, because there's a lot of different disciplines here that are tying this all in. Did you just wake up one morning and hey, it all came together?
Yeah. I have no certifications. I have no mentors. I didn't go through a program. I've never done anything. God has gifted me with a very direct communication with my higher self. And I'll get my notebooks right here, but I have about 7 of these cover to cover filled with with the information that has been filtered to me, and it's just how it happened. So
Yeah.
And what's really cool about it is how you said, I've heard that somewhere. Oh, and I've heard that somewhere else. What's happening is your brain is being activated by universal truths that you know to be true, and I'm helping you organize them so you can use them in an effective way. So the next part is I'm going to explain to you how anything ever in the history of anything was created. And as long as you can follow this creation process, you literally can have anything you want, emotionally, physically, relationally, whatever it is, purpose driven. So take this chair I'm sitting in. I got this leather chair I'm sitting in.
Yep.
At some point in time, this thing that's holding me up and making me quite comfortable was in the form of a thought. So someone at some point in time was like, I'm really uncomfortable right now. Like, this does not work for me. And then he was inspired to say, you know what would be great? If I could like sit up, right? And he keeps thinking like, okay, what else would be good? You know, if I could lean back, that'd be good. Like put my arms on the side, and if it was soft, that would be really good too. And so these thoughts become words, and it starts to become like this plan. Okay, it's got to be stable, it's got to hold me up, it's got to be soft, it's got to be okay. And that plan, then that vision of what it could be, then became directives, similar to putting together IKEA furniture. Okay,
Right.
get yourself some wood, get yourself some cushion, get yourself some leather, get yourself some thread, and then step one, saw the wood this way. Step two, screw the wood in that way, and it becomes steps. Okay, so
Right.
as you see here, it starts 4D as an emotion of dissatisfaction and thought. 3D, you use your words to articulate a plan. 2D, give yourself an action step to take. And then once you take all of those actions, you have 1D, a thing, a chair. And now I'm sitting in it. So what's crazy is this chair is vibrating at such a density that it's physically holding me up. But it started as a thought. I'm literally sitting on someone's thought.
Yeah.
Make sense?
That's kind of I mean, just, you think of where that has gone into. Like, I was just reading about the new Boeing 777 monster plane, whatever.
Yeah.
Same thing, right? You're flying through the sky or going to the moon soon or what have you, starting with a thought.
Starting with that. So it starts with the endless catalog of possibility in the universe, 5D, all that's possible, into a specific thought, into a plan, into actions, so you get your thing. Okay? Now this 5D model runs through the entire universe, everything. So and you'll see how that shows up in this.
Let me ask you a question here. So is it necessary, or is it desirable to be engaged in all five all the time? Some people are they might just be physical. They're just digging a ditch or hammering something. That's it. Some people like, I don't know, take like Indian yogis or whatever that are just kind of in the, I guess, ethereal or everything mode,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not physical. Right. Those are examples of being stuck or focusing just on one level,
Yeah.
but not all five. So what's the desirable what's desirable in that whole picture?
That's a
Do you think?
great question. And here is, so like as humans, we live in this simulation, where we have 5 senses and we have this body and we have access to all of these. We live in a universe of endless dynamic possibility.
Mm-hmm.
We have an experience of duality. We as humans, we see things as like this, I could either do this or that. But as humans, we only have a singular focus. We can only pay attention to one thing at a time. So we live in a world of we observe a experience of duality. We can only focus on one thing at a time, but we live in an existence of dynamic stuff. So the gift is, so what's ideal is the ability to know where you're functioning and the ability to shift into each one of those when it's best.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because I just came to this conclusion a few months ago of what I need to do, because I do chase a lot of rabbits, and in one sense I need to just accept how I am and what I like, but I called it serial multitasking. So I can't multitask 10 things at the same time, but I can do one thing at a time and then switch to something else to hit all 10. I've tried it. It doesn't work doing it all at once.
Right. So like as humans, we think that we can multitask because we have the ability to go in each one of those. But
Yeah.
truly what multitasking is acutely focusing and shifting that focus very quickly and erratically. That's what we
Right.
call multitasking. But in fact, you can only be doing one thing at a time.
Yeah. I agree with that.
So and so like so where you say like, so what's the best to be in? Okay. So think about it this way. I watch skyscrapers go up all the time here. And what's crazy is like once they lay that foundation, the building goes up in like 3 months. It's
So
insane.
fast. Yeah.
And while they're building that building and the construction workers are just following the protocol to get it done, it's not smart for them to be in the middle of laying floor being like, you know what, should we change this floor plan? Yeah,
Right.
maybe we should make the ceilings 15 feet instead of 10 feet. Like, no, that doesn't help. When you're in 2D mode of like, get it done, take action, you need to be able to focus there. And so like what happens is like there's like what you don't see is there's a layer of discovery, a layer of planning, and then a layer of execution. And
Right.
if you can keep those in order, then that's how you get that building, that 1D thing, the best way. And so it follows that same creation process, but like going back and forth and trying to like think a little, plan a little, do a little, get a little, and then you have to like review that. Like try building a building like that, like doing it all
No.
at one time. Like
I like that. That obviously that doesn't work. So you really have to nail each step as the foundation to execute. And you're kind of going from the ethereal, the idea, get that all down. The human level and the language, I guess, would be to actually, with your skyscraper thing, get the plans down and
yep.
it's all nailed down. And then the creature, the second one is when you're actually starting to make it. And then the physical is like when it's done, it's there.
Yep. You got it.
Okay.
You got it.
Okay.
So here's what happens. When we're trying to create anything, whether it's our life purpose and that in a business that supports that, whether we're trying to create a relationship, if we're trying to create a fucking sandwich, like what happens is we have this desire and then we try to get it done and it's not getting done. You're like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? So then there needs to be this evaluation process where it's like, well, where am I going wrong here? Like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe what you thought you wanted isn't what you want. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe the plan that you designed wasn't effective in getting that thing. Maybe
Yeah.
you followed the plan, but you were taking wrong actions. Like you weren't taking the actions right. And then you look at it and you're like, okay, does this 1D thing fit this 4D idea? And you evaluate, no. Well, then something went wrong there. Something went wrong.
So, yeah, this is a very good point here because just from my own experience, I think this is where I've gone wrong a lot, where I might have this ethereal idea and I'm just skipping through several of these layers trying to get to the tree. And I got a lot of holes and a lot of stuff along the way, and I never get that tree that I want. Not
Mm,
never, but a lot of times for the big things. Just like I said at the beginning of this, I'm trying to get the execution, but get it all right. And now that you're mentioning this, I've got holes all along the way on these
mm.
levels. I know it.
Ah, so
Yeah.
so who benefits from those holes? So it's an interesting
Hmm.
question because when you have those holes, what happens is you have this idea in your head and then it doesn't come in the time that you want or that you expected. And that creates frustration, a negative emotion inside. And so your monsters
The monsters.
eat
Yeah.
that negative emotion. So what happens is as we're trying to connect these dots, the reason that humans are such powerful creators is because we have a language to connect all of those dots. And so what monsters do is because they want they want to be sustained. They want that fear to be sustained. They create shadows in your language to make you think you know what you're doing when in fact you're actually saying nothing.
Right. It's
And
well. This is so. If I could just put this together, because I think this is great. This is kind of nailing your framework's nailing a lot of things. Those monsters, the voices in the head, uh, it knows you very well because it's in your head, and it can change your words. Like, well, most people don't succeed at this anyway,
yeah.
or well, I don't want to. I want security, so if I take this risk, there's this little nuances that start shading things the wrong way that
Mm-hmm.
start screwing things up. Is that kind of
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and so this can become a nuisance, but then the nuisance becomes frustration. Frustration becomes kind of like either anger or depression, and
Yeah.
then that grows and it grows and suddenly as the evidence between this is what I want, do I have it, Your monster
Mhm.
keeps tapping you on the shoulder, be like, hey, how you doing, man? How's that dream coming? And you're just like,
Right.
fuck. And then you don't even want to visit it anymore. And it keeps you small. It keeps you stuck.
If I could say, I mean, I don't want to get into politics here, but this right here is where you've got um, groups that are separated out and saying, hey, you're not, you want to be here, but you're not here because of that group over there.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that stopped you or took it from you. Oh, and then all of a sudden, right? The,
Mm-hmm.
the group that's thinking that, hey, they did, you just screwed yourself over because you're not going to do anything to execute for yourself. Now
Right.
it's that little language there that's pointing you somewhere else, and it just took you off track,
Yep.
right?
And absolutely. And so what are the solutions to this? People will go as far as like, ignore the that voice and just power through. That's one way people do it, right? If it gets bad enough, it's like, you need to demonize that behavior and take on new behavior. If it gets bad enough, like you go to a priest and he performs an exorcist, and then all of a sudden he takes all the power of God and the power of Christ compels you, and then he's like, get out of here, monster. Like, but
Right.
here's the thing, bro. You are 5D. You are everything. And we get this attention, this human experience to experience all of this. So here's the thing, man. Your angels and your monsters are part of you. They're part of your kingdom. And this next level of ascension is you going from a man that takes care of his responsibilities, takes care of his family, his body, into being a conscious creator that has a massive impact on the world,
Hmm.
internally and externally. And so this is about being a conscious king of your universe. And so here's the thing: hating hate is still hate.
Right. Because you're hating,
Killing monsters is still murder. And
because you're
so
killing.
it's like, well, then what do I do? Here's the thing, and here's what I'm here to show you to do. Those monsters are actually here to serve you. And an ascended being, it's your job to, in the game of love, to go first and to show them where they belong, not to kick them out, but to put them in the right room, let them play in the right area.
Mm-hmm.
You want to let your son go out and play and explore the world, but there's some areas where, like, you don't let him like play on your computer and all your electronics. He might ruin all of
Right.
that. He's
Right.
like, Dad, I
Right.
was just playing it. And you're like, I know you were playing, but you ruined a bunch of shit. So like,
Right.
here's the right area for you. Here's your toys, here are your gloves, and by the way, your Instagram of you and your son doing the
Oh,
boxing, doing the drills, man.
wasn't that
Oh man,
cool? That was
it
so
was.
awesome.
I watch your son's karate or your Krav videos.
Yeah.
It's just the most adorable thing.
And it's all
Um,
instigated by him. I mean, meaning obviously he sees me doing it, but
right.
he'll say, "Oh, I want to hit pads, Dad." He was 4 years old, right?
Yeah. Oh
So
my God.
that's the coolest thing. I'm not forcing him to do it. Like he's trying, he'll just go and start doing push-ups because he sees me doing it. It's just so cool. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
it's great. And he had a few good kicks. I was like, I need to turn my hips that way. Like,
Yeah,
damn.
he turned his hips around a couple times.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
Right.
like, hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. His first kick and his final kick were like fantastic.
Yeah. That's funny. Cool. I appreciate that.
um, so it's about being a good parent to your universe, being a good king. And that's what I want to show you how to do. Okay. Now, here's the interesting thing about like these levels of experience, because they kind of change. So as like the conscious king that is everything, you have your universe. Your monsters are part of your universe. Your humanness is part of your universe. Your body, your movement is part of your universe, and your cells are part of your universe. And it kind of goes like this, like, who is God in charge of? God is in charge of, as it is to, religion, God's in charge of all of the angels and the monsters and all of that stuff. And then it's interesting, like, my dog has a ball, okay? That's his ball. Now, does he truly own it? No, but he's responsible for it. Like, he carries it around and, he
Mhm.
plays with it. And then, so a 2D creature owns a 1D thing or is responsible for it.
Mm.
I am a 3D creature, and that's my dog. I mean, I don't own him, but I'm responsible for him. You know, I don't let him outside, even though he wants to go outside because he might get hit by a car. So I keep him safe, and it's my job to look after him. Just the same, your angels and monsters are here to look after you. So you have a family up there of your own monsters and angels that are there to like facilitate your, you know, your creations. And so what we're going to do in our precise language session is we're going to step up here so we can give directive to all of the other layers so you can get that thing that you want. So
let me ask you a question here. So where is the relation between God and you then? Right. So I see the relations between these other levels, but what about at the top there where you've got you and God, which is intertwined, you know, it's the universe. Is there, you know, because in religion, you know, God is in charge. You want to be in sync, but God has a plan. So it takes the big picture a little bit away from you as an individual. Or are you saying it's kind of, you're all connected, it's all the same thing? Is that what you're saying?
it's
Okay.
all the same. It's all the same thing. And it's so difficult for humans to digest paradox. So like, wait a minute, I'm everything and this thing at the same time. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, what's my relationship to like my body? Is this Spencer? Or like, now what about when I look at my organs? I look at my liver, like that's me too. Okay. But that's part of my body. That's part of me. Now in the liver, there's some blood cells. Are those blood cells the liver? Are those blood cells me? Are they,
Right.
so you can see it's all part, but it could be articulated in a separate way so we can focus on it. But you
Okay.
are everything. And what gives us permission to be God, lowercase g, is God gives us free will, the choice to do whatever we want. Similar to when he was sitting there, he's like, okay, I'm kind of bored. Well, what do you want? Light, pop. What do you want?
Right.
Earth, pop. And we get that same permission. That's what's so awesome about being a human.
Interesting.
Is it's a little mini simulation of the universe in a single 100-year span with, you know, coming from, you know, your existence.
Right.
So the whole thing is, how do we take the image in our head in 4D and our desire to have this thing 1D and bring it to 3D, our humanness, so we can take the right action to get the thing. So I'll give you an example of how this works.
Okay.
So imagine I'm on the phone with you and I'm playing a 4D role because I'm going to give you something that I want you to do. And I say, Ken, I want you to go get my keys from my house. So there is this directive, and now you're like, okay, Spence, I want to help. I'm like, yeah, dude. Once you get my keys, we'll go over to this conference. We'll talk to a bunch of people. We'll have a blast, a couple beers. Like it'll be great. And like we both got friends waiting for us, you know, for this thing. You're like, awesome. So now you desire to grab my keys. And you're like, all right, Spence, on the phone with me. And this phone call represents the voice that the conversation you're having with yourself. Okay.
Right. Right.
And I'm like, all right, dude, go in my house and get my keys. You're like, all right, I'm there. They're like, all right, where are they at, Spence? And I'm like, okay, they're not in the living room. And they're not in the kitchen.
So we're at the
And
third human level now, right? In the actual using language and stuff to
yeah.
try to execute the idea of getting the keys.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect. You got it.
Okay.
Yeah, you're tracking really well. This is exciting. I like this. And I'm like, okay, they're not in the bathroom. They're not in the guest room. And you're like, okay, well, there's only one other room, which is this one here. And you're like, all right, Spence, well, I'm in your bedroom. Where are they at? And I'm like, okay, they're not on my desk. They are not on my bed. They're not on my nightstand. They're not in my drawers. They are not in my closet. They're not in my bathroom. And you're like, Spencer, just fucking tell me where they're at, man. Come on. Like, I'm like, dude, I am telling you where they're at. I've been talking to you for 10 minutes. And you're like, yeah, but you haven't said anything. We're like, what are you talking about? I've been talking to you for 10 minutes. I'm telling you where they're at. Just give me a second. You're like, all right, fine. Okay. They're not in my pillowcase. They're not underneath my bed. They're not underneath the floorboards. And you're like, floorboards, Spencer? Really? You're like, all right, bro. Like, either tell me where they are, or I'm just gonna hang up and just like pillage through your room and find them.
So
Like,
you think you're communicating because you're speaking one way and thinking one thing, and I'm a completely different thing. I'm like, just tell me where they are, not where they're not. And you think you're telling me, and I don't think you're telling me. So
right.
we're not communicating.
In order for you to be able to get my keys, you need to have a vision in your head of exactly what that looks like. And the clearer that is, the easier you can get it. Because if I was like, yo, go to the fridge and grab me an apple, like you could close your eyes right now and imagine a fridge, open it up, looking for an apple, and that image is clear. But if I were to ask you to close but your eyes right now and be like, okay, grab my keys, what image do you see there?
Right. It's hard to tell.
With no image, this whole thing cannot start. Zero creation ever happened with no image.
So the ethereal part, the image, the thought, you need to have that, and then the right language to execute it.
Yep.
Okay.
And so you're like, I'm like, okay, not in the floorboards. It's not in the drywall. And you're like, all right, bro, okay, I've had enough of this. I'm gonna go. You hang up and you pillage through my room. And you're like, well, fuck, he said floorboards? He was on that level? So like you're busting holes in the wall, like you're looking all over the place. And here's the thing, even if you do find my keys, it's gonna take you 2 hours. And then you're gonna be like, here, Spence, I got your keys. When you finally see me, you're gonna be pissed. You'll be like, dude, like, what the fuck was that, man? Like, now we're late. Everyone has been expecting us. I've got like 50 phone calls. Like, we were supposed to be there. And like, even if we still go, people are pissed that we're late. We're pissed at each other. And it's like, even though we got the thing that we wanted, it took way longer. We're frustrated at each other. And it's just not a good situation. And shit, you might not even ever find the keys. So like, So what's interesting is the word not. Okay. So if someone says if I say to you, I'm like, all right, Ken, I got a word written on my hand. Okay. And I want you to guess what it is. You're like, all right, give me a clue. I'm like, okay. It's something. And you're like, okay. So basically I need to choose the right one out of infinity, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. I'm like, okay. Sorry. I'll be clearer. It's written on my hand is not eggplant. And you're like, okay, so
infinity
minus one. So I might as well be saying nothing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because shit, if I said, hey, there's something on my hand, you're like, give me a clue. And I'm just stone face. I say nothing. That's no better than saying something. It's still infinity. And then I say, well, it's not cucumber or not eggplant. Okay, now it's infinity minus 2.
So you know what this just to bring it back, there's a lot of things in self-help and all that stuff that this applies to, where there's a miss between, okay, I want to be happy or I want to be rich, and you just say, I want to be happy. Okay, well, what does happy mean?
Yeah,
well,
you're getting it.
It's not this. Okay, but that's infinity minus 1.
Right.
Like it just doesn't work. Or I want to be, I want to be rich. Okay, that's not enough.
Right.
Right. It's not enough.
Right. Yeah. So this is awesome because you're tracking so well that like the pieces of precise language are coming to you.
It's coming together.
Yeah. And again, you're not learning anything new, bro. Just the connection between the things you already know to be true are just matching.
Yeah, I like the framework though because it's putting it all together in one picture that you can visualize. It's nice.
Right. So what's crazy is this word not creates an infinity minus 1. We call that a void word because you're not really saying anything. And what's so tricky in the English language, dude, that not only is it a tiny little word, not, but it's so sneaky that they just attach it to another word and just put an apostrophe where the O is. It isn't in my bedroom, you know?
Oh,
And the thing
right.
is these void words create massive shadows in our language that prevent us from seeing, you know, that image that's going to help us build that plan, take that action to get that thing.
Hmm.
Okay. And so we'll go into like there's a bunch of void words, and I'll show you how to decide like what, you know, what those, you know, how to decipher whether something is void. But
Okay.
so next, now I want you, now I want to go into the same scenario. Let's start over from the beginning. You walk into my house, and I'm like, yo, dude, can you get my keys? And you're like, okay. And I'm like, they're in my house. You're like, okay. I'm like, go into my room, okay, and look on my windowsill. There's a big window, one window in my room. Look on the right hand side. There's a silver square container. It's metal, and it's filled with change. And underneath that change are my keys. It's an orange keychain. If you were to close your eyes and envision that, you
You
would
could
be
go
able to
straight.
walk through my house and get my
Yeah.
keys in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
It took me 15 seconds to explain and 10 seconds to get it, versus 2 hours, a ton of frustration. Maybe you find my keys, maybe you don't. My room is torn the fuck up. We're
Right.
pissed. We're late, and all of that. And so that's because we're speaking clear language, speaking only of what
Now,
is.
you could see, sorry to interrupt, but I'm trying to, putting these together as I think about it. So you could see where in relationships where this goes wrong, where like, hey, I want our relationship to be better, or you're not doing this,
Right.
or, it's very unclear, and
Right.
people are talking past each other, or their expectations are like this, and it's so imprecise that you're just not getting any closer to what the
Hmm.
what the what the deal is. It's just
Right. Right.
continuous miscommunication.
Yep. And the deal can be we don't have the thing we want. The deal can be we're not behaving the right way. The deal can be we're not communicating the right way. The deal can be we're not feeling the same way. And so, like, some person might be talking about what you did. The other person's like, well, I did that, but I didn't mean to. And now you're like, you guys are like trying to get on the same page,
Yeah.
but you guys are traveling. And so, through this precise language, it makes sure that everyone's always on the same page. And here's the best part, bro: the other person doesn't have to be using precise language. You can filter
Oh.
for them. So this is
Oh.
where like you can teach your son through demonstration. He doesn't have to go through this talk, but literally you can teach this to a 4-year-old kid, bro.
Huh.
So
Okay.
it
Cool.
it so yeah, so it's
Yeah.
super exciting.
So, but
Um,
was just to clarify what you're saying even if does the other person have to be aware of this at all, or no? So you're okay.
it
Interesting.
helps. It
It would
helps, you
help.
know.
Yeah. But you can
But
basically read what you, through this process. You can kind of read where they're at, so you could zero in and be on the same.
mhm.
Okay. Got it.
Yep. That's through a process called fractaling. And actually that's the next part. So if I were just to say, hey, they're at my house, okay, or like I'm like, hey, go grab my keys, and you're like, where are they at? I'm like, they're in Chicago. You're like, okay, well that narrows it down.
Right.
We're in Chicago at my house. Okay, that narrows it down to about 1,000 square feet. Okay, we're in your house, in my room. Narrows it down to, you know, whatever, 15 by 15. We're in your room, on the windowsill, on the right hand side, in the jar, underneath the change.
Right. Okay.
And so we call that fractaling. That's speaking precise. So so you start with vague, and then you work your way down to precise.
Okay.
Okay, and that's how that's how it's done. So the so this whole thing, like, when your thoughts and your words and your actions are all the same thing, that's how you get shit done.
Mm,
I I I want to get my keys. I state I'm going to get my keys. I take action to get the keys. And this
okay.
is what we call integrity. When your thoughts, your intentions, your feelings, your ideas, your words, your declarations, your plan, and your actions are all the same thing.
And
And
that's
this is
called.
the
Why is that called
integrity.
integrity?
Because
Integrity means that you kind of do what you say you're going to do, or you are who you say you are. So, okay. I
There you
guess
go.
that makes sense. Okay.
I am who I am. I am who I think I am. I am who I say I am. I do what I say I'm going to do.
What I
Thoughts,
do.
words,
Okay.
actions.
Makes
And
sense. Okay.
so, and so this integrity mechanism is so powerful because, if you want to get better at your fitness, you need to do fitness things and then that gets better. It has some effect on your emotions and your relationships, but you could be in great shape and then have shitty relationships, right?
Right.
And so
Right.
like when you do one thing, it like really helps this, but like it has fringe benefits to that. When you work on your relationship with yourself and you love yourself, like in 4D, like that's great. And then you're more likely to work out and have good relationships. But integrity is you do this thing right, and everything in all dimensions gets better. And so the key is to master integrity.
Hmm.
So how do we master integrity? Well, people think like, all right, well, you need to challenge yourself, set a big goal. I'm gonna lose 50 pounds in 3 months. And then if you follow through with that and you do that, like it's like, oh fuck, I am who I say I am. Awesome.
Right.
So that's big. But also you want to sensitize your integrity. Here's what I mean
Okay.
by that. Anytime that your thoughts, words, and actions are deviate, okay, so you feel like, oh, I want to get in shape, you commit to getting in shape, but then you sit and watch Netflix all day. You are out of integrity, or this is what you call sin, out of
Mm.
alignment, out of alignment with God, your purpose, your thoughts, your commitments, your actions. Okay, and so we tend to sensitize our integrity to the we tend to sensitize our integrity to the level of which the external world will punish us.
Hmm. Okay.
So think about it this way, and I I give this example, although I requested that an extra 5 minutes to get onto this call. Um, but think about it this way: if me and you were supposed to meet for dinner, I'm like, yo, Ken, let's meet at that spot, um, and I'll see you there at 8. Okay. And you're waiting there and it's 8:05. Like, you're probably not too pissed off. 8:15, you're starting to wonder and worry.
Mm-hmm.
8:30, you're starting to be like, dude, come on. 8:45, you're like, what the fuck? I haven't called. I haven't showed. You're sitting there just with your dick in your hand at the restaurant. You're like, well, what
Right.
should I order? Like, what the fuck? And I finally show up at 9 o'clock. And when I'm showing up at 9 o'clock and I haven't called and I haven't texted, I'm walking in being like, oh, fuck, he's going to give it to me. And you'd be
Right.
like, yo, dude, like, good to see you. But like, what the fuck, man? Like, I've been sitting here for an hour. Like, no, you said 8 o'clock. Like, what the hell? And
Right.
so we tend to sensitize ourselves to the level of which the external world will punish us. So this
Mm.
is why the more beautiful the woman, the later she is, because the external world does not punish beautiful women the same way they do average people. Okay,
Mm.
so
Right. Yeah. If she's 15 minutes late, like you're okay with
yeah,
that.
right. And so that's why it happens. But notice when we only change based on our external environment, that's a victim mentality. That's a low density vibration. That's how trees and rocks exist. They're just byproducts of their external environment.
Right. So you shouldn't really be sensitizing, as you're saying, your integrity level based on external punishment. It's an internal thing.
Hmm.
Your thoughts, your words, your
Right,
actions. That's
right.
inside, not external.
So imagine you were able to master your integrity, your thoughts, words, and actions to a very, very sensitive level, a very detailed level. Then anything you set your mind to, all it is just press play and it gets done. So
Mm.
mastery is on a spectrum. Okay. Mastery, goes from like, completely don't know what you're doing to like absolutely knowing what you're doing. And mastery, as I define it, is in direct proportion to the level of detail that you deem to be significant.
Hmm. That's interesting. Okay. In direct proportion.
To the level of detail you deem to be significant. Let me give you an example. My dad's a carpenter, okay, and builds just this like everything in the house is custom built furniture. It's beautiful, and and I love building shit with him. Okay. And he was telling me about like veneer on wood. And he's like, you need to make sure that the veneer on the front is the same as the veneer on the back, because those two, if it's different, those two woods shrink and expand at different rates, and the board will warp just very, very slightly. And I was like,
Oh,
oh, I was like, whoa, that, I'm like, cool. So let me tell you a little secret. In the, they got this giant credenza in the basements. It's like 20 feet long with the granite countertop, and it's made out of this beautiful maple, or not maple, burled oak, burled walnut. And he's like, the front of that is burled walnut, which is very expensive, and the back of it is just regular walnut. And he's like, so, I built that 10 years ago. If you go and open those doors and look, you can see a very, very slight curve.
oh,
Now, my dad's been a carpenter since he's 15. But if you or I were to work down there, go down there, we would just look at that and be like, fuck, that's beautiful. Damn, you did a great job. Because he's a master. The level of detail that he deems to be significant is on a much more sensitized way. So
right.
to increase your mastery, we think that we need to do these big things. My dad's like, oh, I built this credenza, I'm a master. But what truly makes him a master is that he notices the details of the light bowing. And
Mm.
so you need both of those in order to master your integrity. So when you read the book Can't Hurt Me, or the
Yeah,
David
yeah,
Goggins book,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah, I'm one chapter into that right now, by the way.
Oh, it's
Um,
awesome. I read the whole thing straight through.
I can't wait. So
Yeah.
the way that he does it is, it's a singular approach. Do do big shit, do big shit, do big shit. And I'm all on board for that. But we live in a world of duality. So there's another side to that too, which is sensitize yourself to that shit. And if you can sensitize yourself to your integrity, more sensitive than the external world will punish you on, you will live
Right.
through life. And even though you'll deviate from your integrity, people will observe you as perfect.
Right.
Example. When I have a call, and again, I always try to make sure I'm perfect on these calls to give this example. But me and you've had a number of phone calls, and or a number of Skype sessions or
Yeah.
podcasts.
It wasn't even, I didn't even think twice. I mean,
Right.
yeah.
So you'll see this in my language here. So typically, if I have a call at 8 o'clock, I sit my computer down at 7:55. I open it up and I wait. 7:58, 7:59, in 30 seconds, 7:59, 45 seconds, 50, 55, 56, 57, and I press it. 8 o'clock. Now I do a class every Monday with my guys, and over the past year and a half, there was one time I was late 45 seconds. Now I was late 45 seconds, but like no one was like, "What the fuck, Spence? Where you at?"
Right.
But
Right.
inside I was like, "Ah,
Yeah.
fuck,"
It's your own internal
you know.
integrity. Yeah.
And so I've sensitized myself to that. So if I'm 10 seconds off, I get the same feeling that the average person gets, that average hot girl gets when she shows up 45 minutes late. you
Yeah.
know
Right.
and so I've sensitized myself to my integrity mechanism.
I like that a lot.
So I'm gonna give you an exercise here that you can do
Okay.
that will sensitize you to your integrity mechanism. And when I do this in medicine journeys, dude, like it's a mind blower. And I've got like different variations of it, but I'm gonna show you a simple one. So I'm picking my thumb up, I'm putting my thumb down. I'm picking my thumb up, I'm putting my thumb down. In this moment, I am perfect. My intentions, thoughts, my words, my actions are all in sync in time.
Mm-hmm.
Picking up my thumb, putting down my thumb, picking up my thumb, putting down my thumb. Now I do this. I'm picking up my thumb. And as I breathe, I'm looking for the feeling of guilt.
Actually, I just felt it. I felt it. That thumb didn't go up. I'm like, damn, that's wrong.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And the thing is like the external world is never going to punish me for saying I'm picking up my thumb and not picking it up. So this has everything to do with me. I'm picking up my thumb. And I notice that feeling of guilt and I acknowledge it. Okay, I'm feeling guilt right now. What do you want to do about it? Well, I would like to get back in integrity. Okay, so make that decision. I'm picking up my thumb. I'm putting down my thumb. I'm picking up my thumb. I'm putting down my thumb. And as I keep on doing that, I release that guilt and say,
Yeah, it
hey,
feels better.
thank you for reminding me to get back into my integrity. You've done your job. You may go rest now. Go take a nap. Go back in your room. Just go play some video games. Do whatever you want to do. And so when you can sensitize yourself to this, pick up my thumb, putting up my thumb, pick up my thumb, and feeling that, that's mastery of your integrity. So
And if I could say right here, this applies to, like I've got a list of things that I do every day, you know, whether it's I get a little piece of exercise in, make the bed, small things, right? Make a call. But I'm to the point where it's on my list. And if I don't do it, nobody knows, but I know. And I get that feeling like when your thumb didn't go up.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes I fool myself. I'm not perfect, and I'll just say, "Oh, whatever."
Right.
But I get that feeling more than I don't, of like my thumb didn't go up, and I get that feeling. So I know exactly what you're talking about just by my experience.
Yeah. So let's talk now. Let's talk now about trust and confidence.
Okay.
So trust or confidence is is the level of trust you have in your integrity over time. So here's what I mean by that. I'm picking up my thumb, I'm putting down my thumb. I'm picking up my thumb in 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay. And so my level of trust that I'm going to pick up my thumb in 3 seconds, pretty high. But if I say I'm picking up my thumb in 15 minutes, well, there's a lot that can happen between now and 15 minutes that can interfere with my integrity. So my level of trust that I'm going to follow through on that is lower than it was in my 3-second call.
Right.
If I say I'm going to pick up my thumb next Tuesday at 6:45 and 37 seconds p.m., like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like that it's even farther away. So we work on this integrity mechanism over time. So we start with it in the moment and work on it over time to the point where you're going to be like, I'm going to be here in 10 years and have the same level of confidence as I'm picking up my thumb in 3 seconds.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And all confidence is your belief that your integrity is on point over time. In any amount of time. That's what confidence is. So this is the thing this is the powerhouse of creation. It's the thing that drives it all. Now, let me show you the mechanics of precise language so you know how to navigate within this integrity mechanism, okay? So, speaking precise language, super simple. 3 easy steps. Speak up, speak clear, speak precise. There you go. And that is the functionality for having everything ever you want in the history of your life. Now, there's some.
Is this speaking part? Is that the that's the level 3, the human side, where we're using the language, the communication. It's a communication method that communicates the idea that you're trying to. Okay.
If you don't speak up, you're reduced to simply just being an animal. There's no difference between me and Mojo. If I don't use words ever, like there's a little girl that was raised by wolves, like legit. She lived in the woods for like 8 years or like 13 years or something. She had no verbal skills. At that point, my dog is a victim of his own impulses. When he hears fireworks going off, he barks. Like there's nothing that you can do about that. That's just when a dog hears loud noises, he barks. And he's just a victim of it. And so to step into the conscious creator, you need to use the gift, speak up. So if you don't use your words, nothing gets solved. You're just a byproduct of your impulses. So step 1, pretty easy.
Now, do you mean you physically have to say stuff? What if you're writing a plan down or something? Like it's just metaphorical. You literally have to like say it.
No, it's the use of words.
Okay.
So, you can, writing it down, stating it, all the same.
Okay.
Writing is a 2D form of language. Speaking it is a 3D form of language.
Okay.
Yeah. So, step 2 is speak clear. Now, this is why I call this the language of God, because speaking clear is using language in a way that recognizes universal truth. There's subjective truth, what you feel is real or what you observe to be real, and then there are truths that are unarguable. Okay, and in this human simulation that we experience, the simulation we're in, there are a set of rules that are unarguable. Okay, and there's 3 rules. 1, everything is something and somewhere. Okay,
Okay.
so it's like, what did you do this morning? Nothing. Well, nothing is a void because you did something. So did you wake up? Yes. Where did you wake up? In your bed? Yeah. Left side or right side? Left side. Okay. What did you do next? Did you brush your teeth? Did you make some coffee? Well, I made some coffee. Cool. What did you do next? I brushed my teeth. Okay, cool. So when I asked you what you did this morning, you woke up, got coffee, brushed your teeth. Okay, what else? And so when you say nothing, it kind of stops it there. But when you address that, you did everything. You're always doing something, that moves you forward. And everything is always somewhere. When I was 9 years old, my grandmother bought me this like leather jean jacket. It was so dope. It was like lambskin on the inside.
Yeah.
And I left it at the mall. And my parents were like, "Where is it?" I'm like, I don't know. It's lost. Well, it's not lost because it is somewhere. Even right now in this moment, 30 years later, like it's somewhere. It might be in a landfill. It might be in a bunch of little pieces, but that material exists
It's
somewhere.
somewhere. Yeah.
Right. When I die and go to heaven, that is the very first question. And I'm asking God, like, where the hell's that jacket? And where is that one track shoe that I lost in 8th grade too? Like that one's a mystery.
By the way, I think about things like that, like something I've had, like, where is that thing now? Is it under 200 tons of garbage? Is it in
Right.
someone's closet? Is it? Yeah.
Right. And because energy cannot be created or destroyed, it can only be transformed. So it is somewhere. Where is that thought of of this chair that guy made? Where is it? It's right here. I'm sitting on it right now, So everything is something in somewhere. That's rule number 1. Universal truth number 2. Everything is always moving all the time. So even as this is still, it's vibrating at a certain frequency. So it's moving all the time. If I'm sitting still here, well, I'm not really sitting still because the earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. And even
Right.
if the earth stops, it's still spinning around the sun.
Right.
And even if the earth stops spinning around the sun's being hurled in the universe and the sun's following its gravitational pull. So everything is always moving all the time. Okay. And as we experience time in the human realm, everything's always moving forward. So when you say it's just like, oh man, I'm so depressed, I just want this feeling to stop. Well, stop is a void because everything's always moving all the time. So what do you want this feeling to do? Now we can progress. I just like, I got to get out of this relationship. I just want it to end. Well, nothing ever ends because it's always moving all the time. So what do you want it to do? So end is a void. Stop is a void because so void words violate universal truth. That's how it's measured. Okay. So yeah. So it's like, I've got a word written in my hand. It's not cucumber. Well, not's a void because it is something. What is it? Okay. It's caterpillar. Oh, okay. Now we can start moving forward.
Right.
So everything's always moving. Everything is always something and somewhere. Everything is moving all the time. And then finally, everything is true from some perspective. If me and you are kicking it, we're in a parking lot, and we see a car like 30 feet away, and I run up to the car and I pick up a brick or a rock, and I fucking just smash the driver's side window. Like, Spence, what the fuck, man? Like, we got to get out of here. Like, you can go to jail for that shit. Like, what the hell? And as you move like to the left, like 15 feet, you see that there's a baby and a puppy in there, and it's 100 degrees out and it's 120 in there. And now you realize, oh shit, he's a hero. From one angle, I'm a criminal. From another angle, I'm a hero. Have you ever seen like the thing where a light is shining this way and a light is shining this way? And if you shine a light this way, and a 2D, this is a square.
Okay.
Look at it this way, it's a circle. You see? So from one perspective, if you were on your screen with a marker to draw a line around this, it would look like a square, right?
Right.
Turn it like this, it would look like a circle.
Oh,
So
okay.
what's the shape of this? Is it a square? Well, from some perspective, both are true.
Right.
And this goes even further. So if I tell you that there's a creature that has, that's got a long neck like the Loch Ness monster, a horn like a unicorn, arms like Bigfoot, and it's got scales and hair, and you're like, that doesn't exist. Well, everything exists somewhere. Everything's true from some perspective. So where does that exist? In 4D. Because my imagination is just as real as this is here. It's just in a different realm. Make sense?
Interesting. Yeah, it's okay.
So it's like, have you ever had an argument with someone and they're like, you were a jerk, and you're like, I didn't say anything that was like jerkish, so like, no, you're wrong. Well, they're not
Right.
wrong. You were a jerk from some perspective, the perspective of their emotions. So what's going into that makes them feel that way? And when you can not judge, someone's reality and just take a look at it from like, where is this true from, and then work from there, that's where a huge conflict resolution skills come from. So everything is something and somewhere, everything is always moving all the time, and everything is true from some perspective. Those are the three universal truths. Anything that violates that is a void word, okay? So what's really crazy is void words, again, they're so fucking tricky. They attach themselves to real words, okay? So I'm just like, I'm just like unsatisfied with my life. Un is a void.
Oh,
You're
okay.
satisfied with something. I mean, are you having a heart attack right now? Okay, so you're satisfied with your body physically feels? Okay, so we're somewhere.
Right.
You're satisfied with something, and so so also the suffix less. I could care less about that person. I mean, you care on some level. You didn't murder them, so you care
Right.
for them
Right.
on some level. So in what level do you care for this person? Okay, and then we can move forward. So in our conversation, these will pop up. And here's what's crazy is monsters use void language as shadows in your vision. Remember how I was saying it's not here, not there, not there? When you close your eyes, try to see where my keys were, it was just a blank. It was a shadow. So they use shadows in your language to keep you stuck. So this is the coolest part. We're going to be able to pinpoint precisely where monsters are keeping you stuck, because as you're speaking in precise language, it's going to feel almost impossible to speak, and that's where the monster is. And then we can go in there and start to unpack it. So like, as long as you participate, your monsters can't hide, dude. It's crazy. They cannot hide.
Okay.
They are
Yeah.
and not to void. So they will be seen. It's only a matter of time. So
Cool. Okay.
the last part, and then we'll get started on in our sesh. So the last part is speak precise. So once we realize that we like our words are spells. I believe abracadabra. But let me look this up. You know how a magician says abracadabra?
Yeah.
Abracadabra actually means I will create as I speak.
Really?
Yes. And so when a magician says abracadabra, it is like thy will be done. 40 to 40 or 5D to 1D now. And so the word now is a very interesting one, because there's some process. Because if I was magical, and I say I'm gonna have I'm gonna have a baseball show up in my hand, and I say abracadabra, and then all of a sudden, like from my hand, you see it go and come up. There still is a half a second between when I said it and it actually shows up. Now,
Right.
per our time mechanism, that seems immediate. But in the spectrum of 4.8 billion years, like that's a small fraction. In the concept of 14.8 billion years, a year is almost instant.
Right.
And so time fucks with us. But I create as I speak. Is like once you realize that you're a conscious creator, you are an alchemist. The embodiment to the ability to grab into the endless catalog of the universe and bring it into 1D. Then, and once you embody that, you're speaking clear. Then where you can kind of fuck up is in vague language. The largest mistake of the dream maker is in vague language. I'll give you an
So
example.
let me just to distill this again in just a basic understanding. So what you're saying is the actual words we use, it's a mechanism, it's a tool, the words, the language, but the void words, they're vague, the negative ones, the ones of monsters. When we use these little words like less and not, it's really internal mechanism our brain is using to disconnect, or just to distract us, or what is it?
Keep you suffering. It's to keep you feeling bad or feeling confused. It's to stop the creation process, or
Okay.
transform the desire to create into pain, in a loop. And pain is great because it calls our attention to make an adjustment. But suffering is pain in a loop. And
Okay.
even in the golden age, even when we're living in paradise, pain still exists, but suffering does not, because we do not have to pay the emotional price for a mistake any more than once. If you do feel that, that's your monsters perpetuating your pain so they can grow larger and larger.
Okay.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Um, the so I'll give you an example. To the people I work with, I refer to myself as a dream broker. And so it's like, tell me your dreams and I'll help you facilitate that. And I say, I'm like, I want you to treat me like a magic genie. Okay. So you rub the genie, I come out, and it's like, I will give you whatever it is that you want. And most people are like, oh, okay. I'm like, all right, okay. What do I want? Oof, I want more money. And I'm like, okay, your wish is my command. Boop. And I flip them a quarter. And I'm like, there you go. Job done. And they're
Yep.
like, well, that's not what I meant. Well, like, well, what did
That's
you
what
mean?
you
Because
said. That's what you
I
said.
gave you
Yeah.
exactly, you know what I mean? I gave you exactly
Yeah.
what it said. Take a look at our contract, homie. Okay, I said I'll give you what you asked for. You said you wanted more money. I gave you a quarter. So like, that's on you, homie. Like no court is gonna tell me I didn't do my job. Because I did my
Right.
job. I gave you exactly what you asked for. And so the universe plays that same game. And so it's like, I just want to be more happy. Okay, well, go jerk off. And in that moment of climax, there you go, more happy. Or shit, what's your favorite song? Let's play that. Okay, there you go. Wish is my
You're
command.
happy, right?
Right, there you go. Like, but it's like, okay, well, it's got to be more specific. So this is where it's where precision plays a role. And the way to be precise is to fractal. Now, there's a couple vague words that create like half shadows. For instance, more. Okay, I want more money. Well, okay, so you make 100 grand now, and so 100 grand to infinity. I'm supposed to figure that out. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, I want to be more happy. So you're this happy, and so it's infinity minus 50%. Okay, still pretty
Right.
vague. You know, I've got a number on my hand. It could be a positive number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. It could be a negative number, -1, -2, -3, -4. Okay, it's a negative number. Okay, so infinity minus 50% still doesn't really help you. So
Right.
comparative language like that of like more or less, it helps starting to shape the idea, but then it
But
needs to
it's
be
still vague.
fractaled down into
Yeah.
more. Okay,
Okay.
and this
And
is
just to clarify, I pretty sure I understand it, but when you're saying fractalizing, it just means taking it from the general and it's narrowing it down to specifically. Like when you say more money, well, I make 100,000. I'd like to make 200,000 or whatever. You're narrowing it down to a specific.
right, right, and
Okay.
then it's like, okay, I want to make $200,000. Okay, good. That's a more specific thing. Now let's put time on it. When do you want it?
Oh, right. You could make
Oh,
that throughout your life. Yeah.
right.
Okay.
And down the rabbit hole we go. And
Got it.
so so that is kind of where the art of this comes in. So like these are the rules. And next I'm going to show you through demonstration of our conversation of what's coming up next in your life here.
Okay.
What we're going to do is what's so great about it, dude, is it doesn't matter where you start the conversation. We will find the monsters, clarify them, and then move on to the next part. And
Okay.
so, and like, again, I'm sharing with you the surface here. And then
Sure.
from there, it becomes,
Yes.
a lot more, intricate. But as we go through those intricacies, it's going to be very, very clear as to what's going on. And the best part, bro, is I'm going to be showing you what I'm doing while I'm doing it. So there's like full transparency, and you're going to
Right.
have like this third person kind of perspective of what's going on between you and yourself. So you can be a better conscious creator.
Cool.
All right. So here's how the session works. I know that we've got 15 minutes left to our allotted time. I have more time. Do you have more time?
Yeah.
Okay, dope.
Let's do.
So here's how this goes. We are going to step into a container of which we are using that all of the words that come out of our mouth are precise language.
Okay.
If you would like to use void language, totally acceptable. You may use that in your head, but everything that comes out here is clear and precise.
Okay.
Okay. Now, in this, the only time I will interrupt you is when you are using a void word, and then you've got to kind of state it clearly.
Okay.
There are going to be points where you're feeling there's just no way to say that clearly. In my lots and lots of hours of doing this, I have never come across a point of something that can't be said clearly. So, so feel free to challenge anything that I say. So if I tell you something is void or vague, you could be like, I think it's clear. And here's the cool thing: by fractaling, you can take any void word, and eventually we'll get to the point where you see that it's, where you run into the, well, everything's something or somewhere. We run into the universal truths where it's like, it's void.
Right. Okay.
So
Okay.
you've got full permission to challenge anything that I say.
Okay.
In addition, this is not me facilitating an experience for you. We're in the container together. So you have just as much permission to monitor and referee my language to make sure it's clear and precise.
Okay. So
Okay.
the key is here we're trying to just however we answer and talk, everything is supposed to be very specifically exact to that,
Yep.
down to the tiniest thing.
So,
Okay.
so to start, just work on speaking clearly, and then
Okay.
the precision will come over like experiencing this.
Okay.
So, so yeah, and then the it depends on how far we push this. There may come some point where it's frustrating. There's some points where people are like, "Fuck you, Spencer," and that's clear. So like, I'll accept that, right? And
Right.
here's the
Right.
thing: especially if we do like a few sessions, there's gonna be a point where you feel like you're being manhandled, and it's actually not me. You're actually fist fighting your own shadow, but since you're looking at me, it feels like it's me.
Right.
And
Right.
so feel totally free to express yourself. I'm just the observer. I'm just the referee. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like,
Right. Okay.
the two dudes duking it out, that's you and, and your shadow.
Okay.
So, so yeah, in the event that you want, like you've had enough, and I don't, in my first sessions, I try not to burn people out, and I usually don't. Um, unless it's like we're like dealing with someone who's like kind of like suicidal, or like there's a big problem,
Yeah.
then
Well, I'm
I'll
not
kind of,
suicidal, so I
right,
think I'll be
right. Well, yeah, we're good. Cool. I see it going smooth. But at any point in time that you would like to be done, you
okay.
simply step out of the container of precise language by stating, I would like to use all words now.
Okay.
And now once you do that, we cannot go back into precise language today. We can go some other time, but today, like once you step out, you step out. Okay.
Okay. Now
Um,
let me ask you this: is this kind of, you know, you could keep cutting, fractalizing down to like an atom, an energy wave, right? Like how many levels does this go down, or is that what we're going to find out?
So that's what we're going to find out. So
Okay.
the value of vague language is it takes a bunch of little details and makes it one idea. So vague language is very efficient. If you knew where I kept my keys in my house, all I could say is, "Hey, dude, can you grab my keys at my house?" And if you already
Yeah.
know where I keep them, then I can just say that instead of like go in my house, walk down the hallway, and all that.
Right.
So there's value to vague language in its but here's when there's miscommunications between people, it's usually something vague where they don't have the same agreement of what that term means. And then you
Okay.
start to fractal. And this will make more sense as we get into it.
Cool.
All right. You ready to get into it?
I'm ready. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. So I give you complete permission to monitor my language and hold me accountable to make sure that it is clear and precise.
Hmm.
Do I have that same permission?
Yes.
Awesome,
Yes, you do have. Yes, you do have that same permission.
awesome. Here's what's cool here too. There's 5 questions that you need to ask yourself to ensure that you're constantly making progress. Super simple. It
Okay.
is, what do you want? Okay, 1D, what's the thing? What's your next step? 2D, what action are you going to take? Okay. What is hold on, let me I just revised this. So, oh, what's standing in your way? Like what resistance or interference? Okay.
Okay.
3D. 4D is what's your drug? Meaning, what simple pleasures in life do you gravitate towards when you're frustrated in struggling to get the thing that you want? It could be actual drugs, or shit, it could be working out, it could be TV, it could be whatever. But having a healthy relationship to those things helps us stick to our plan. And then finally, 5D as like an identity statement. Who do you need to be to have that thing that you want?
Mm.
So, and so here's the formula for conscious creation. Ask those 5 questions. When you feel interference, start fractaling, and keep moving until you have a plan, healthy relationships, strong identity, and action steps to get the thing you want.
Okay.
And that's the secret to conscious creation. So let's try it out.
Okay. Let's try it out. Yeah, that was a lot to grasp there, what you just said, but let's
Yeah.
jump in.
All right. So let's talk about this next. Let's continue the conversation that we were having earlier of like what's next for you coming up in your life. What is
Okay.
it that you want?
And I'm using precise language right now.
Mhm.
Boy, that's good because I'm getting ready to start with very big generalizations already.
Well, yeah,
Not a good start. Yeah.
start with those and we'll fractal them.
Oh, okay. Got it. Um, so let's just start with finances.
Mhm.
I do want to secure, put myself in a position financially for the future so that my ability to pay my food, shelter, clothing, plus other things that I just enjoy to do will not be dependent
Not,
upon
not, not,
me having to do
not.
work.
Hold on. You said not
Oh,
dependent.
yes.
Okay.
Um, will occur. Oh boy, that is hard. Um, will be taken care of.
Hmm.
I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Uh, so my next step, what I plan to do is make money based on my activities I'm doing, sales and then projects and the like, and put that into passive income. I've done it a little bit with investing in a little bit of business, but it's like this. It's not really what I
It's
want.
what? It's
Yeah,
what? It's
it's
like this,
yes,
and then go on.
yeah. Oh boy, this is hard. Um, so standing in my way is uh, the place where I'm at. I took some risks, which I was going to say didn't, which is negative again. Wow, this is not
Well,
easy.
well, that all those are voids. You may think those thoughts, but
Yeah.
everything that comes out of your mouth, keep them clear.
Okay. All right. Uh, which the results I'm not pleased with.
Not pleased with.
um, I don't know how to say. How do I say something
That
without?
that's the void.
Yeah, I don't. I said don't again. My God. Um, anyway, I'm starting fresh now on the plan to bring in good sums of money that I can then put into
Mm.
the passive thing. Simple pleasures that I crave.
Yeah.
That,
So yeah. What do you when you struggle with this? Like, what do you gravitate towards to satisfy you when you're struggling to get satisfaction in that area?
okay. So I enjoy, well, one, I always like freedom. So when I'm doing my activities, like the freedom to think, be creative, and try different things, I don't like being boxed in on
You
a,
what? You what?
shoo, boy, this is, yeah. Um, I'll just say that I like to have freedom to use all my creative juices to bring about results
Mm-hmm.
in the activities that I'm doing. And so that's I don't know if that's really a pleasure, but it actually
Don't
oh
avoid. So what? Go
yeah.
on.
So that is a pleasure to me because my freedom is important. That alone is pleasure. Um, I also like to do some of my other activities, such as my physical activities, kids. I still like to have the freedom to do all those things as well. Uh, so that's pleasures. Who do I need to be to get what I want? So I definitely need to be myself and not try
Not
to fit.
not.
Oh, I need to be myself on my own terms. But it's hard to say these to avoid these words.
The clear way to say is speaking clearly about this is difficult.
Speaking clearly about this is difficult.
Yeah.
I need to be myself to harness my passions and my abilities to their full extent. That's what I need to be. Being this, I feel I can get where I want to go.
Mm. And where do you want to go?
Oh boy, this is going to be endless.
And endless.
less,
Endless
less.
is a void, and so is
Yes,
end.
yes.
So
Wow.
this is going to be difficult.
This, I was going to say, I don't think it's going to be difficult. The difficult part will be to clear the mental blocks that I have. I feel. Um,
What do you mean by mental blocks? So when I ask that question, I'm fractaling.
yep.
So you say the word block, and so I'm like, oh, okay. I think there's a monster there. So
Okay.
what do you mean by
Yeah.
blocks?
Yeah. What I mean actually is putting it into words
Mm-hmm.
the precise words, that the plan, having a clear picture of the plan, putting it into precise words and executing.
Mm-hmm.
Along that way, I know there are a lot of holes that I've let energy.
Holes is a void because everything is something.
Right. Okay. I know I'm leaving out. Now I'm afraid to talk. I know I'm leaving out.
Leaving out because everything's in something.
Right. And I was going to say not including, but then that's not.
Mm-hmm. So
Um,
including what? What do you need to include?
I need to include a lot of details that I normally just use general words for,
Mm.
and the details really need to be executed.
Mm. So what's
Um,
standing in your way from putting these details together?
I think the first thing is understanding that I'm not including, not. The first thing is understanding the details that I usually paste over and don't pay attention to.
And
I
what?
usually think don't.
The details
I
that you what?
usually, yeah, I know. Details I exclude. That's a void
Exclude.
word.
Everything's included somewhere.
Okay. Well, I need to encapsulate all the
Mm.
necessary details.
Yeah. So what would be the best way for you to do that?
I would say, first of all, be clear on my idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then for me, I need to write down every little detail, put it on a checklist, because I find when I do that, I actually feel the need to actually do it, no matter how small it is, and check it off. I think that's important to me. Um, and I think that will help me execute. It'll help me execute, and it will help me execute on the things necessary.
Cool. All
So it
right.
gets it.
So let's talk about the outcomes of this session, because right now we're doing some clarifying, right?
Okay.
And
Right.
so the outcomes are on all these dimensions. Like, what is it that you want? What are your next steps? What's the plan? So
Okay.
so you just articulated a plan, or you articulated an action. I need to spend time clarifying in my mind and writing down the details to collect and encapsulate my ideas.
Right.
And so that is the directive, a 2D action that would help you get that thing that you want.
Okay.
So 2D action, a particular action over iterations, that's a plan. So this is where, you could discover this yourself, or someone who is coaching can give you a tool or a suggestion of like, so how what could we do on a regular basis to help you constantly be moving forward. And so that I know that a lot of creatives will set up times like 8 a.m. every morning for 30 minutes. I'm in my journal just creating, writing for the garbage can, as they say,
Right.
and just getting the ideas out there. Because when you are trying to put this picture together in your head, this puzzle, right? Step one, take the box, pour out all the pieces on the table. Step two, sift out all of the pieces. Step three, turn the pieces over so they're all showing the picture side. Step four, start organizing them into corners, edges, different colors. So when you get into that notebook and you take the practice of 30 minutes a day, same time every day, for you to take a look at the 1D thing that you want and start clarifying in your mind and articulating through words, that's what's going to help crystallize your grand vision. And your grand vision is like, I mean, life is dynamic, so there's a lot to sort through, which is in my notebook, like I got all types of, look at this, I'm drawing monsters here, I'm writing
Right.
I'm writing notes, like
Now,
it's
do you set aside a time for you to to do this? Like, okay, I'm gonna have half an hour, and then I'm gonna. Okay.
absolutely. And the way that I do it, since I'm already kind of like in this lifestyle, it's happening all throughout the day. So it's kind of like asking a construction worker, like, how do you stay in shape? What's your workout like? Do you go to the gym? And it's like, well, I'm always constantly
Yeah,
doing
all
things,
day
you
I'm
know?
lifting things. Yeah,
Right.
right.
You know, it's
Okay.
like it's like asking the farmer, like, oh man, your food is great. How often do you go to the grocery store? It's like, well, I'm constantly making food, so it's like it just
Right.
hasn't. So
Right.
so so it would be great for you to start there, and as I've developed, whenever I'm feeling, you know, have you ever been working on something and then a thought comes in your head and another thought, oh, I got to do this, I got to do this, and all of a
Oh
sudden
yeah.
you're so overwhelmed that it's hard to work.
Of course.
I've trained my mind to be like, okay, hold up one second here. I'm just gonna sit with my eyes closed, breathe for 5 minutes, and let my brain go crazy. Just like whatever it wants to think, as fast as it wants to go, as many thoughts as want. And then I spend 5 minutes just writing the reflections that came into my head. And dude, that for anxiety and overwhelm, just that simple 5 and 5 process is a game changer.
So it just gets it out of your psyche, your mind. You put it down on paper, so it's like a resolution. Then you're kind of cleared the energy or the block of all the stuff coming in, and
Hmm.
then you finish your task. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. And,
Yeah,
and,
I like.
and so like what people try to do with their emotions is they try to control them. So like, but here's the thing, they have the right to be themselves. Just like my dog has the right to be a dog. I can train him, but you know, I like he's still going to behave that way. And so the way that we try to manage our emotions is like trying to tie like a leash around a wild horse and try and drag him around to control, like, you know, this horse
Right.
is going crazy. Here's a better way to control a horse. Build a fence a mile this way, a mile this way, a mile this way, a mile that way. And then the horse can feel like he's free, although you're in complete control of where he goes. And
Right.
so this is called corralling versus
Corralling.
versus you know controlling. And so we
Yeah.
want to corral our thoughts, give them space. Like they're trying to tell you something, so it's like
Right.
allow them. But oh, hey, you've got 5 minutes to do this. You got 5 minutes to do this. Then I'm going to get back to it.
Now, how would someone use this in the sense of, let's say they're trying to be in shape and they're not supposed to eat a bag of chips or something?
That's avoid.
Oh, okay.
So someone's supposed to get in shape and
Somebody
they want.
wants they want to eat healthily and are thinking about eating things
Okay.
outside
So
of the healthy realm.
then I'll ask like, okay, well, what do you want? You want to be healthy,
Yeah. So
right?
yes,
Okay.
yes,
All right. You're hungry right now. You want to eat healthy. So
yes.
what's your next step?
Eat something healthy.
Okay. So what's standing in your way?
The going back to what your goal is, I think you would. I was going to say not.
What would be standing in your way there is the desire to eat chips.
Right.
Okay. So then I ask like, well, what's your drug? Well, chips, right?
Chips. Okay.
So in the outcome of what's your drug, it's like, okay, well, what is your relationship to what do you want your relationship or what does your relationship to chips look like while still being healthy?
Hmm.
Like when do you eat chips?
When do you eat chips?
Yeah, because if you want chips, like okay, but
Yeah.
like what relationship is
Well,
appropriate so
you
you can have the
you
thing
could
you want?
actually you could eat some on a cheat day.
Sure. When's your cheat day?
Friday.
Friday. Awesome. What time is this? Is it all day?
It's between 2 and 8 o'clock.
Cool. So here's what we would do. So now, so let's say this was a big point of like contention for you. It was like, fuck, I just like I do so good on my diet, but then when I want chips, I find myself grabbing them. So it's like, okay, when you find yourself going to grab the chips, ask yourself, what do you want? I want to be healthy. Okay. And what's your next step? To eat something healthy. Okay. What's standing in your way? The desire to eat these chips. What relationship do you need to have with these chips to eat them on my cheat day? Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to take a sticky note, grab the chips. When you feel like grabbing the chips, grab the chips and write a note. Friday, 2 p.m. Put them there.
Right.
And you want chips? Okay. When you say though, the
Right.
monsters have the right to eat. Like, you should eat chips if you want to, but on your terms,
Right.
and in terms that still support your goals.
Got
You
it.
know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, so that is, so the what's standing in your way, or that's like what's your drug. That's how you do a reframe. So now you have a new relationship and protocol. A relationship is about expectations and execution, or the agreement that you have with that relationship. The agreements. So the agreement that the new agreement that you have, the chips, is when you desire them, you grab the chips, you put a sticky note on them of when you're going to eat them.
Right.
And now that's the new code in your head. Now here's
Got
what's
it.
really cool too. Our subconscious runs 90% of our behavior. And so we behave based on the codes that are in our brain, just like HTML, just like computer code.
Right.
And so we are able to upload new codes into our brain, and it comes through finding really strong affirmations or mantras. I call them codes. And so as we have this conversation, if you notice, like it was like, okay, I've got this idea, I got this idea of my life, and it's like, well, what do you need to do? And we reduce that to, I've got to sit with my thoughts and get them down on paper. Okay, what's the plan then to do this? Every day at 8:30 to 9 o'clock, I'm going to sit down in my notebook and write about those things. Awesome. Now you got a plan. I guarantee you, bro, you do that for 30 days, your shit's going to change. Like, and life is about progress. And sometimes progress is 1 inch. Sometimes
Yeah.
progress is 1 mile. But as long as we're always pointed due north and making progress, it's only a matter of time before you get what you want. This is why I'm saying, like, this works 100% of the time. It's only a matter of time.
Right.
Makes sense? And
Yes.
then I ask you, like, it's Wednesday. I'm like, hey, dude, did you brainstorm for 30 minutes today? You're like, no. Well, what did you do? What did you do at 8:30 today? I was sleeping. Okay. So let me ask you, what is it that you want? Okay. All right.
Right.
Well, what is it you want? Well, I want clarity in my plan. Okay. Well, what's your step to do that? Well, to journal. All right. So what's the
Journal.
plan? Journal every day at 8:30, 9:30. Okay. Well, what's standing in your way? My relationship to sleep. Well, or I was my laziness. Well, what's your drug? Well, sleep is. Okay. What relationship can you have to sleep that supports your goal? I can go to bed 30 minutes earlier so I can wake up refreshed there. Excellent. New directive.
Right.
So what time do you need to go to bed to feel refreshed? 11:30 p.m. Awesome. So now, so now you put a new code into your subconscious that I go to bed at 11:30 p.m. so I can be refreshed and rejuvenated. So I have the focus and clarity, the focus and power to find my clarity through my journaling.
Right. I
And
can see that. I can see that piece, that small piece missing in a lot of execution.
missing.
Oh,
I can
so
see
I would
that
just
small.
say I can see that where that piece would help to execute.
There you go.
Yeah.
You see how when you say it that way, it's a directive, it's
Right.
outcome based. I can
Right.
see how that will get me what I want. Oh, great. Then follow that, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
So dope. Okay. So and so are you seeing, like, no matter what we talk about here, you're gonna learn how this works and you're gonna get more
Right.
clarity. And
Right.
as you learn about one thing, the chip example, all of a sudden your brain's like, oh shit, well, that could apply to this, and this.
Yeah.
So this is like when I work with someone, we always start, like, in the immersion that I'm doing. It's like, what is your audacious ambition? What's that big thing that either scares you or you're trying to find clarity on, or you're struggling with? And then we'll use that as the muse to teach you this functionality to actually move you forward on that, actually practical things. And
Right.
then once you're able to do that, you're able to master anything.
Other things. Right.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So
Excellent.
let's discuss, like, your purpose.
Okay.
You're looking for that thing to give your heart to give your purpose to that one thing that supports everything else, you know? So what what is that for you? Like what are your thoughts on that? Like what are some of the things you've been thinking about?
That's that's a fantastic question. That's something I've been is trying a negative word.
Yeah, because
It's not you're not
so
really getting there.
oh well not as avoid. So trying is avoid because it's redundant because you're
Yeah,
always trying to do something.
right,
That's what I mean by redundant. So
right,
in the trying, what's happening? Struggle. That's something that I'm struggling to find. So
right.
awesome. Struggle is a negative emotion. That means there's a monster in there. So in what way do you struggle?
Okay. I would say I struggle uh, in reaching clarity on that what my purpose is.
Hmm. Okay. Clarity. Clarity is vague because like
Right.
once you
Well,
see something,
let me give an example.
yeah.
Let's say an Olympic athlete, they know, at least for that period of time, they want to win the gold in swimming. I'm just making this up. There's a there's a defined purpose that's a deep desire, and they have execution plans, doing 2 sessions a day, working towards it, going to meets, coaches, there's that whole type of thing.
Hmm.
So I want to find my version of that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, here's what's and so I'm gonna step up here and kind of show you what just happened there of how you are facilitating your own healing here,
Okay.
or your yeah, or your own conscious creation. What you did is you gave an analogy of something that made sense that
Mm,
we now can we could take that formula and layer it over your situation. That's why analogies
right.
are so great.
Right.
Okay, so you said like an Olympic swimmer that has the deep desire to accomplish that thing. Like, where does that desire come from in this Olympic swimmer?
I think it's something.
I'm still listening. I'm gonna grab some water.
Yeah. Sure. I think that's something that is a result of a lot of experiences you might have. You might be good at it. You enjoy it naturally,
Yeah. All
and
right.
you've gained a level of competency in it. You've done it, and you've seen results that appear as a good foundation to get you where you want to go.
Awesome. So then we take that answer. We take that answer. We
Mhm.
reflect it right back on you. So what are you good at? What makes you excellent?
So I would say I have some traits I think that have stood me well. Ability to, even though I'm not communicating well because I'm trying to avoid the
Not as a
monster
void,
words.
not in
I
void.
just I just
Yeah.
did it right there. My ability to speak with people has done me well in terms of sales, relationships that have helped me navigate.
Mhm.
Uh, Creativity has been very good for me. I've done many creative things, such as doing music and like, but creativity and solving problems,
Mhm.
from anything from fixing things to figuring out how we're going to get a group from point A to point B, just many different areas, creative and solving problems, which has done me in good stead. Um, I have had the experience of, we're talking about all the finances and stuff. I've had the experience of doing well, like the things that I've done that I'm talking about have resulted in actual money. So I know I have the ability to create deals and have them result in actual physical money coming into my pocket and adding value to everyone involved. So I would say, yeah, the ability to speak with people and being creative has helped me to create deals that have provided money. So I know I can do that. I know I can leverage that into whatever else I'm doing, but at a much greater level.
Okay. So you're good with people. You're good at creative problem solving. You're a good, excuse me, the hiccups, critical thinker.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're good at generating revenue. So these all sound like great attributes for you to be able to make something successful. Let me get more water. My next question is, what matters to you? Like what more than family, more than health, you know, all the basic like fundamental things, like after, you know, do you take care of your family, your finances, your health, and all that's in place,
Mm-hmm.
what matters? Like what's important to you to see? What change is important for you to see in the world?
So, for me, freedom is a big thing. You know, the ability to, boy, I was just thinking of a whole bunch of negative words, which I
Yeah.
have to stay away from.
Well, let me be clear here.
Yeah.
Voids are simply just shadows in your images.
Okay.
Negative words are clear. I you know, I hate, you know, sweet pickles.
Right.
That's clear. That's a negative word, but it's clear. So I want to, you know, make the distinction that negative and void, like you may think that they're synonymous, but you can be
Right.
negative and clear. So
Okay.
yeah.
So I would say it kind of comes back to the freedom thing, which I feel happy when I feel I have the freedom to pursue my thought, to think and pursue my thoughts, or the ability, even if I don't pursue my thoughts and ideas, I could
Don't.
what I wanted. Oh,
So the
okay.
freedom to create your thoughts.
Yeah. So to me, that's very important. And I think the world would be a better place if people could have that same ability, have the freedom to pursue their strengths and desires.
Okay. So let's go into let's go in the world of 4D.
Okay.
In the world of 4D is adds another dimension of time.
Okay.
This is the concept of 3D time. Sorry, the water went down my windpipe.
All
Um,
right.
I was gonna say the water went down the wrong tube, but wrong is a void because everything's right from some perspective. I
Oh.
clarified and said it went down my windpipe.
Oh. Geez.
See what I'm saying? Say
Yeah.
sensitizing myself to like saying that, you know, the external consequence of saying that you still understood it, but I've sensitized myself so much to that
Right.
level. Does that make sense?
What we're getting into is the same thing about when you read your own writing over and all the things that you've done incorrectly,
What?
your brain
Incorrect.
compensates. Is
Incorrect is
that
a void. So all
is
you're
it
reading
wood?
your
Okay. So but if something's incorrect, how do you say it? How do you not use the word? Um, anyway, there's a proper way to state things, and your brain auto corrects so you don't know. I don't. Um, I don't know how to say it in a positive manner,
clear manner.
clear manner. At any rate, your brain overrides what you're reading, so you're not reading clearly what you
Not
actually wrote.
not
You just
not and overrides.
was override too. Okay.
Yeah, something's always in control.
Yeah. Okay. So how would I state this? Um, well, just your brain does not read the details.
Does
It
not.
does not. Your brain interprets
Mm-hmm.
your writing how it wants to interpret it,
Mm-hmm.
which I was going to use the word not.
Right, and your brain
I'll just
interprets
leave it
how
at
it.
that. Just leave it at that. Yeah,
So
leave it at that. Or I get in more trouble here.
right. So when you say your brain interprets the way your brain wants to interpret, that's redundant. So
Right.
when someone says like, why did you do that? Well, I wanted to do that. Well, why? Because I wanted to. Well, why?
Right.
So that's a loop. Well, of course you
Absolutely.
wanted to. So why did you
Right.
want to? So, so can you see then, like, you see how much brain power your brain is using to try to figure out how to say something?
Yeah.
And
Right.
then at some point you're doing a great job. What you do is you say, well, anyway, and then you get back to the progress. And
Right.
so we spend so much time in those loops, dude. So much
Right.
time in those loops. So this is making your creation process so much more efficient. 10 seconds versus 2 hours, you
Right.
know?
Right. Right.
So, all right. So now let's go into the 4D realm
Okay.
of and so in the 3D realm, we experience time 2D, the past, present, the future. Present is 1D, the now, right?
Okay. Right.
And in 4D, it's 3D time. And what does that mean? 3D time is the world of possibility and then probability of that possibility, seeing
Okay.
all the potential outcomes and then the likelihood of those outcomes. Okay.
Okay.
So what's great is we can travel wherever we want in 3D time and space in our imagination. So let's do this. You
Okay.
said, um, so I asked you what you're good at. Where are you excellent? You answered that, and you were actually pretty clear with where you're excellent. So that's great. A lot of people that's a huge sticking point, for some people. And then you said, I want and I said, what matters most to you? What type of change do you want to see in the world? And what you
Mm-hmm.
said was, I want to have the freedom and time to do what I want. Awesome. So let's say that you're making all of the money that you
Mm-hmm.
need to support your life, your family, your savings, your emotions. Because if you got 200K sitting in the bank, you're feeling pretty good, feeling pretty free, and your time is free. What are you going to do next to positively affect the world?
That's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say, I was going to use a negative word.
Void.
Um,
Okay, go
my
on.
main, my main, my main focus, void. My main focus has been more, should I say, on immediate food, shelter, clothing, more as family, small scale, as opposed. Can I say opposed? As opposed
Opposed
to the larger scale, or is that
is
a
is a
void?
void. And
Yeah.
in this conversation, you already have all that. So in this image of potentiality, we're already
Yeah.
there. So what happens next? What do you do then?
Um, well, the things that I want to do that I think will um, that I'll enjoy, that will play off my positive traits, will add value to other people already. So in a way, um, my contribution is going to be the things that I'm going to do will add value to a lot of people, and um, that will result in good finances for me.
Yeah,
But that's how I'm going to add value to other people. It's not going to be separate.
not yeah.
Caught it.
Good, nice.
Uh, the actions I'm going to take will help people in a bigger sphere, as well as help me. So they're the same
Nice.
actions. Not I was not.
There you go.
Yeah, there will be the same actions I'm taking will hit everything at the same time.
So okay, so all right, so that's clear. So okay, and it was all very positive. So now, so remember when you said struggle, and that was a painful emotion, and we fractaled like, hey, what's that about? Now you say, I want to add value to people's lives. That's awesome. That's beautiful. So now I'm going to fractal the word value. What do you mean by
Okay,
value? What type of value are you going to bring?
right. So I have several things that I'm doing or can do. Okay, um, in I'll be starting a new working with someone that I worked with before. we're going to be doing things that deal with AI, machine learning, and the like. So the projects I'll be putting together will benefit people indirectly because they'll be receiving the benefits of all of this, artificial intelligence and all that in various aspects that companies will be using. So that's
Well,
somewhat indirect.
indirect is a
Ooh, yeah. Um, so, well, the end result is it
yeah, right.
will provide value to a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
depending on how
Dope.
big the infrastructures get.
Dope.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got this AI project that
Yes.
will benefit people. Excellent.
Correct.
So so write that on, so in like the 3D planning part of it,
Mm-hmm.
you put in, I'm going to work on this AI project to bring value to other people. So or
Okay.
bring value to people, others redundant. So awesome. That's a great directive. So it's interesting. So that's a code. So when you're encoding your brain, here's what's
Mm-hmm.
very interesting. The brain is a computer, and the difference between a computer and the human brain is the human brain is elastic, meaning it's always changing. It's liquid. So how do we get something that can change, and how do we make it more stable? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say I am, I am going, so when I ask you, like, how are you going to deliver value to the world? You're like, well, this AI project really is going to deliver value. And the whole purpose of this conversation is you want to do something with your life that is fulfilling and impactful and brings value to people and makes money. And so right there, working on that, working on that AI, or pardon, you stated that working on that AI project is going to make you money. It's going to help people. It utilizes your gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So when you write a code down, okay, and we had this, if you ever had like a massive breakthrough only to 6 weeks later fall back into the patterns that you were in,
Absolutely.
and it's like, oh man,
Who
you know
hasn't?
what? Right. It's like, if it was just like if it was just like a, a computer, and you're like, all right, okay, now I'm just going to take this breakthrough and put it in here, and then and then upload every day I work I work on this AI project to bring value to people, and just like and it's just there, right?
Yeah.
Well, since it's liquid, it needs support. And
Right.
so once it's ingrained into your identity, at that point it just happens naturally. Well, how do we ingrain a new code on an identity level?
Good question.
I'm going to share that with you right now. Super
Okay. Cool.
this this shit takes, seriously, 6 minutes a day.
Okay.
6 minutes a day, and again, 30 days, and this will change your shit. Okay.
Okay.
So now we're up to 16 minutes a day in or yeah. So you what I can help you do is create like 30 minutes a day that will completely change your life. One of them
Okay.
is the journaling, and shit, do that for 15 minutes just every day, right for the garbage can of what it is that you want to do with your life, what you're thinking about, and all that. Here is how you ingrain, here's how you rewire, here's how you consciously upload code to your brain. And essentially, when I help people rewire their mind for success, for effort, for success that comes naturally to them, this is how
Mhm.
it's done. Okay.
Okay.
So how imprinting on the brain works is we have these pathways in our brain called neural pathways. And these
Mhm.
neural pathways take the electrical impulse from desire to behavior. Okay, and there's a particular way of doing it. So when you say every day I work on this AI project to bring value to others and myself, okay,
Mhm.
what we do, the way to ingrain that is threefold. One, repetition. Two, the level of or two, the level of emotion that you're feeling while stating that, so the charge of it. And then
Okay.
three, collecting evidence. So in the morning, um, I actually do this with guys in their approach anxiety, and here's how it goes.
Okay.
In the morning, I have them write their code out and say, I immediately act on my impulse to speak to a beautiful woman. And so they write that, and I'm like, I want you to repeat that 10 times. And so every day, they say, I immediately act on my impulse to speak to a beautiful woman. I immediately act on my impulse to speak to a beautiful woman. I immediately act on my impulse. Okay, so repetition.
Mm-hmm.
Next, they're going to add emotion to it. So add some inflections. I immediately act on my impulse to speak to a beautiful woman. I immediately act on my impulse to speak to a beautiful woman. I immediately act on my impulse to speak to a beautiful woman.
And is believing this, I'm assuming, is also part of it, or the strong part of it. Just
So,
saying it without internalizing it.
So what I have them do is the first time that they read it out loud, I immediately act on my impulse, speak to a beautiful woman. I ask them on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being as sure as you are your name that you believe it, and 1 being like, I'm full of shit, you know? And most guys will be like 2, 3, super. Objectively write that down. I believe that at a 2. And so then you repeat it, and you use emotion. You also use context. So like, for instance, if you're at the grocery store and you're choosing the line and you see a beautiful woman, in there, like, I get in that line because I immediately act on my impulse, speak to a beautiful woman, and they give context. So you do that, and in the beginning of the day, it takes 5 minutes. Then at the end of the day, you go to that same page and you collect any bits of evidence that was true.
Okay.
And so the evidence of, and a lot of times guys are looking for like massive evidence. They're at a bar and there's a group of 10 girls, all, talking in their own little group, and she's beautiful. One of the girls is beautiful, and you just walk up and say, "Hey, girls, how you doing tonight? I know that you guys are all talking, but I came here to talk to you because I thought you were just adorable, and I just wanted to come here to see what you're all about." Like, that's a bold fucking move that provides absolute evidence that you immediately speak and you act in your impulse to speak to a beautiful woman.
Right.
But there's also value in, like, walking down the street, a beautiful woman's coming your way as you're coming, and just as she passes by, you say, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah.
And then you just walk by. You still acted on your impulse to speak to a beautiful woman.
You took action.
Yeah, you took action. And so here's the thing: all evidence matters, because the sensitive, the little wins increase your sensitivity, and the big wins increase your confidence. And remember how we said we need these big things that concrete the evidence. We need these little things that show, like, hey, I'm always doing this.
Right.
And so then the next morning you wake up and you write, on the next lines, I immediately act my impulse, speak to a beautiful woman. And then you see that evidence that you wrote yesterday, and you look in the mirror and you say, how much do I believe this on a scale of 1 to 5? It feels like a 3 now. Shit. You do that for 30 days. What do you think is going to happen to that number when you say out loud, I immediately act on my impulse to speak to a beautiful woman?
Yeah, it's going to go up.
Mm-hmm. And so when you say, every day I take a step closer to building this AI to serve myself and others around me. And then like at the end of the day, you look and you're like, well, what did I do today? And then you look at your journal and you're like, oh, I journaled about it today. Okay, I journaled about it. That's a step closer. I also made a phone call. I had a meeting with with the partners that I want to do this with. Okay, awesome, evidence. And soon it becomes so evident that if anyone's to tell you anything different, like whether it's the monster in your head or some external force, you could be like, okay. Like try telling Bill Gates that he's a broke bitch. See how much that disturbs his identity and his actions every day. Like, yo, scoreboard, homie, scoreboard.
Right. Right.
When I tell people that I'm a dating and sex expert, they're like, well, where'd you go to school? Where is it? And it's like, well, then what makes you think you are? I'm like, it's like evidence. Like, you want to hear some stories, man? You want to hear some stories about my clients? You want it, like, no matter what you say, like, it is what it is. So
Right.
I want
Plus,
you
it
to,
also seems like the confidence also builds on itself. So you're stating something, you're executing, you've got evidence of it. So I actually am doing what I say I'm doing, and I know I'm doing it. Anyone can ask me about it, and I'll tell them there's evidence. So I actually am that. I actually am
yeah,
doing it, and it
yeah,
seems it would build on itself. I think
right,
we all see that. Even little kids, they do something. Oh, I spelled ABC. I
yeah,
can write letters.
yeah. And yeah, and then it just keeps stacking on itself.
Right.
So what I do with people, like when I work with people on like on a deep level, and this is something that I do in my retreats as well. By the time we're at the uh by the time that the we leave from the retreat to our normal lives, what we have is a series of new codes to upload into our brain,
Mhm.
a system in the morning to upload those codes, and then to check to see that they were uploaded. So it's exactly like a computer. So like I go on my phone, and I'm like, oh, I want to download, I want to down what did I just download today? Oh, the Apple Store app. And so I'm like, oh, okay, is it in here? Oh, it's in the App Store. Okay. I hit download, and then it downloads, you
Mhm.
see the little circle thing. And
Mhm.
then what's the first thing I do? I go to the app, I check, I'm like, okay, is this working? Okay, it's in. And so that process is download the app every morning by stating your codes, repeating them, and then go check if the app works at the end of the day. Be like, did this work? Oh yeah, there's some evidence there.
Okay.
Okay. And so here's the thing. As you're doing your reflections, every day you're going to be like, man, what's standing in my way? It's like, oh man, well, it's been a while since I've worked on this AI project. Super. So what do you want to install today? All right. Every day I work on my things. I work on my AI project. To that at the end of the day, you check it. And so there will be literally there will literally be codes to your consciousness that are all required for you to have the thing that you want.
Right.
And through your reflections, when you feel there's interference, you just use those codes.
That's great. This puts the good thing about this is it puts some structure to the journaling thing, because I have done journaling before, but just writing down, I guess what you'd say, garbage file. But it you know the the purpose was I'm trying to not use the word I was trying to use vague. And I was going to say there's no clippers, but that's no. So, but at any rate, without structure,
Without the
it
void. When
oh
you add structure.
yeah, when you add structure, it focuses a little bit more into the realm of being able to take action.
Mm. So allow me to clarify. So when you're just journaling, you're taking the first steps of taking 4D into 3D,
Right.
and then you just keep going 4D to 3D, 4D to 3D, and you become one of those people who dreams big, makes a plan, and then just like dreams about something else big. Makes a plan, dreams about something else big, makes a plan, and it remains in the 3D until you take action to like actually imprinting that and taking action.
Right.
So one of the things is you'll have all of the codes, right? And then a
Mhm.
way to install those codes on a daily basis.
Right.
Next, well, the same thing with the bag of chips. So it's like, well, I wanted to work on the AI project, but I really wanted to watch TV. Oh, so what was standing in your way? Watching TV? Okay, so that's your drug. What relationship do you want to have with TV? Okay, how do we manage that relationship? Well, when is it appropriate for you to watch TV? When's my work done? When my work is done. Done is a void. When is work? When do you finish work? At eight
Mhm.
o'clock. Okay, so you can watch TV at 8 o'clock. So when you get that impulse, go to the TV. What is it that you wanted to watch? Oh, I wanted to watch an episode of Friends. Sweet. Make your sticky note.
8 o'clock.
Friends, 8 o'clock. There you go. Get back. So this is what we call a redirect. So as
Okay.
even when we're clear and focused, we have these impulses that pull us, that just expand the timeline of which we're going to get something done. And so when you have a better relationship with that, when you know how to manage, when you set new expectations to that relationship, you're able to stay more focused and your progress starts to accelerate. So through this process of working together, we find all of those energy leaks, build new relationships and protocols to them. So whenever that impulse happens, there is a clear directive of how to get on track and keep moving forward.
And I think that's important. We were talking about energy leaks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
These are so subtle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna grab a bag of chips.
Yeah.
Or oh, you turn the TV on, or they seem they're obvious while as we're talking, but there are, I think, a lot of subtle, very subtle things that take you off track.
Yeah.
And leak energy. So
yeah. And how do
to,
we? Go ahead.
well, what you're saying is you need to not necessarily,
Not as avoid.
yeah.
What you need to do is what?
The best way to handle it is to redirect that function
Mm-hmm.
to a time that doesn't to a time in line with your goals.
Yes. Redirect with action by creating a new agreement to that behavior that supports both the impulse and your goal.
Okay. Yeah.
You know.
Great.
So
Yeah.
and so okay. So we've got the codes. Okay, and the codes are 5D. Who do you need to be? Right? Because that's what it is. We've got the codes. Then we will also have an articulate a list of what do you want. I want to work on this AI project to positively influence myself and others. Okay, then we start fractaling that. When do you want it by? How are you going to go about doing that? And so then we ask the question, like, okay, pertaining to this goal, what steps do you need to take? Well, I need to create a business plan, and I need to get support. I need to get funding, and these become your directives. These become your action steps, boxes binary instructions that have check boxes that either they're on the list or they're checked off the list. Like only two ways to do that. And so
And is that the third? Is that the third level then?
That's
Plan.
2D. So a task is 2D. These are the things that need to be done. The plan is 2D in time. So here's the sequence of which they need to be done.
Okay.
And so once you have so if you were to make that one phone call, would that have a huge impact? Yeah. Okay. So we take all the tasks, find out which ones have the most impact, do those first, and just keep writing them down. That's how you make a plan. So you'll have tasks. You'll have tasks in level of importance and sequence. You will have you'll have new relationships to your impulses, and you'll have a new relationships to your monsters. That's another level. So when you're done, your consciousness, the you that you're imposing into the future is all mapped out in words, where it becomes binary, where you ask yourself, oh man, why am I feeling frustration? Well, let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at your at your codes. Are all of those being followed? No. Which one are you struggling with? I'm struggling to stay on my diet. Awesome. What's happening there? Well, I go grab the bag of chips. Okay, what relationship do you got to have to chips? And now it's just like,
should you use the word you just use the word struggling? Should you use the word struggling?
Yeah, life is hard, man.
Okay.
Life is fucking hard. Struggling is to clarify the word I can't, or I'm not eating right. Well, not to void. I'm struggling to eat well. Well, where's the struggle? Like when it comes, in between meals, like I go grab chips. Okay, well, what relationship do you need to have with chips so you can still have your goal?
Got it. Yep.
So this is what I'm talking about. This is like the I call them the 5 pillars of progress, or the 5 pillars of perpetual progress. I think perpetual and progress might be redundant, but you get my point.
Yep.
Uh, and so this is what I'm saying. Like, as long as you engage in this, you're always moving forward. You're always finding answers.
Right.
So, so here's the way that I want you to kind of see, like, the downloading into your brain. What's actually happening is you're imprinting new reservoirs in your brain, called neural pathways, for electricity to flow easy. Okay. Now, for something to flow easily, let's say, instead of electricity, it's water. Okay. For water to flow easily, the deeper the trench, the easier it flows. The deeper the trench, the more water or charge can flow through it. So, and then the stronger the walls of the reservoir are, the harder it is for that water to go in any other place than that. So how that pertains to the upload process is, imagine if I was making a dirt channel. Okay. I'm making a dirt channel here from one place to another, and that represents your behavior. And I just start putting pressure on here, and I just keep going over like this. This is repetition. The more times I do this, the deeper it gets. Okay. Now, when you include emotion into it, that's like pressing harder, deeper the trench. This is how PTSD works. One single moment pressed really, 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 really hard will create a trench.
Okay.
So this is where the medicine comes into place. So I use everything. I use a bunch of different medicines, everything from LSD to MDA to mushrooms to, I use a lot of different medicines. What that does is that increases the charge while we're doing this clarifying work. So it's super important to create a really clean container where everyone, where you're doing precise work. Because when you go into those states, like, there's, it's more emotional. So the deeper the trench. So that's why we leverage that, with medicines to collapse timelines of how long it takes to create that trench. So now we're doing repetition. We're pressing harder. Okay. And then at the end of the day, when we find evidence, we pour a little concrete in there, solidifying, because, like, evidence is truth, man.
Right.
And so now you've got this deep trench that's covered in concrete. And once it's covered in concrete, like, how often do you need to maintain that trench? Whereas if it's dirt, the water is going to start, pulling the dirt away and kind of shaping it however it wants. So once the concrete's in there, how often do you need to visit it? I mean, as often as you need to visit roads and dams and stuff like that, every few months.
So it seems to me that this process is something that you do, or your mind does naturally, but the problem is you have to give it some direction to do this in a way that supports your goals.
Yes.
Right. Otherwise, willy-nilly.
Otherwise, otherwise those trenches are just the byproduct of your reactive emotions.
Right.
And all of a sudden you find yourself, because, like, your level of mastery when it comes to mindfulness is on this end of the spectrum. And then you just become the byproduct of your impulses. And all of a sudden you're eating chips every day, and you're 20 pounds overweight.
Right.
And it's like, why is this so hard to shift? Well, because the imprinting's so deep. How often have you been eating chips? How many times have you binged and eaten chips and watched TV at the same time? And it's so satisfying emotion, right? And then when I ask you that, how often have you been eating chips? And you're like, every day. Now the evidence, the concrete.
Concrete, right. So you need to following the same, these are natural things your mind does on its own. You need to put it in a form that of your goals, starting with the 5D, and you need to harness this natural process
Yeah.
in this
And
positive way to
and
get the
make it
results.
right, and make it intentional. Take
Intentional. Yeah.
what's naturally happening with your functionality, make it intentional. And when you take your natural functionality and make it intentional, you then are consciously creating your reality. This is
Right.
why I call this conscious creation.
Okay.
Make sense?
Now the just to follow up a bit on the on some of those things you mentioned, mushrooms and all that. You shouldn't say that. You can still do this process without that. You were saying that those
But
things are
without the void. So you can still do this process.
Intensify
Hmm.
things. But is that a negative?
And
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Or I would just say this process works just on its own. That stuff you were mentioning was just to intensify it, because I
yeah,
don't think everybody listening would necessarily want to get into that realm, because that could cause some other problems.
100%. And depending on where someone is,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm kind of seeing their functionality, they might be so impressionable because their emotions are like so high in the pain realm and the fear realm, that it's like you need to make sure that you're able to run this operating system really cleanly, and then you can step into that realm. So in terms of when I like advise it is when I feel like someone can stably run this operating system. Because if you're running an impulsive operating system on these type of medicines, well, then you just become even more of a byproduct of your impulses. And this is how, when
Right.
people use these drugs in a way that's not mindful is a void. When people use this in a way that's simply recreational, the imprintation is based on just impulse and in recreation. When this medicine is taken with hyperintentionality, what it's
Mm-hmm.
doing is it's collapsing timelines. So very similar to you. You want to bust up that sidewalk? Awesome. Here's a hammer. You hammer that sidewalk long enough, you will bust it up. Or if you are capable enough, you know tools enough, you're savvy with using tools, I'll get you a jackhammer. We'll
Jackhammer.
get this shit knocked out in 30 minutes.
Got
So
it.
this is what I tell people when I make the invitation for them to experience these medicines. One, the purpose of the medicine is merely just to raise your level of consciousness and emotion. So, for instance, when I do mushrooms, like some people will take a quarter of mushrooms or an eighth of mushrooms, and then you're just like, you're seeing shit and all that. Nah, like this is meant like you take enough to activate it. And what's crazy, bro, is once you activate it, it becomes more activated as you reach into your consciousness. So it's meant to just be an enhancement. Whereas a lot of people, when they're taking drugs recreationally, they want it to take over their consciousness because they struggle to manage it. So it's just like, it's just like any other medication. Like, yo, you want to take a Vicodin? Like Vicodin, you got a toothache and they just pulled your wisdom teeth. Take a Vicodin 1 every 6 hours. Okay, that's an effective way to manage the pain. Whereas other people are like, well, I feel great, but I want to get fucked up, and so then they take 3 Vicodin. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Right.
there's a way to dose something effectively with minimizing the negative effects while gaining so much positive effects.
Mm-hmm.
This is why, like, people like the concept of these types of medicines, if you take a look at the scientific research that's coming out, and the way that people are managing or are leveraging these medicines to manage their depression and their anxiety and their ability to hold a charge, they're using MDMA. MDMA originally was a therapy drug.
What's MDA? That's neck ecstasy, or
That's
what was that?
ecstasy or Molly or SAS. it was originally used to be a therapy medication. So a couple would both take some MDMA, again, like an appropriate dose, I mean, you know, festival levels of MDMA, like, you'd be tripping your nuts off, but a little bit. MDMA is a heart activator, and so it's heart medicine, and it opens you up, and the lines of communication become so much clearer. People take a look at the research with ketamine. Ketamine is a dissociate. Dissociate is a void. So what ketamine does is it allows your ego to sit in the human realm while your consciousness goes here, so you can be the observer of your life, the objective. So you actually go up to the 5D to take a look at your life and look at, like, what truly matters. What am I going to and then what am I going to do about that? Mushrooms is a medicine that activates the pineal gland. And if you take a look where people are getting a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression and regret, and what it does is it opens up your imagination to see possibility and probability. So where people feel like they're in that loop, they can start to see solutions. And what's really cool too, dude, is there are breathing techniques like holotropic breathing or Wim Hof breathing. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I was thinking about looking into that.
Dude, I would love to take you through a breathing exercise, because that breathing exercise actually activates all of the things that all of those medicines do.
Yeah.
That breathing activates dimethyltryptamine, or DMT, in the root of the brain.
Which you have naturally in your body. See, I'd prefer something more natural like that, because I don't really take drugs or anything. I don't want to get into that whole thing, but a breathing exercise sounds very interesting.
So the thing is, it's the same effect. So again, like the hammer would just be doing it. The jackhammer would be like doing the breathing exercises. Right. Okay. And then just getting like a bobcat and just fucking, that would be the drugs. And so you can see in that as well, where the relative danger of using those. Sure. Like if you give someone who like struggles to use a hammer and you give them a bobcat, that's
they could do some serious damage.
Serious damage. And so it's all about, so what I'm sharing with you here are simply just tools. And the great thing is, it works no matter which way you go. It's just the path that you want to take.
Right.
Got it. So in those breathing exercises, I've been doing these with my mom every day for the past like 3 weeks. And my mom, also like those type of medicines, like she wants to, do like just, the mind stuff, the breathing stuff. And I'm like, awesome. It's like, as the facilitator, I'm just the waiter telling you the specials. But if you want to order off the menu, right on, because you're going to be fed no matter what.
Right.
So yeah, the breathing exercises. I mean, that would take me another like 30 minutes to give you my.
We'll make that a separate session. Yeah. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So that's that's kind of like, I shared with you the operating system of precise language in the 5 pillars of progress.
Right.
Okay? So precise language is the rules, and and then the 5 pillars of progress are kind of like the application,
Right. Is the 5 pillars of progress, or is it the 5D, those 5 steps, or the separate, the 5 pillars
of progress? 5 pillars of progress are the 5 questions. What do you want?
Got it. Yeah. Okay.
Which they all follow the 5D model. Let me give you an example of like how the 5D model is in everything. So when you ask questions, there's five basic questions: who, what, why, where, when. Right? Mm-hmm. So where, 1 point, is 1D. How, motion, 2D. Who, human level relationships, 3D. Why, emotion, feeling, 4D. What, objective, 5D. Make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
So how about, and so this, when you're writing codes for yourself, okay? When you're writing codes, you can speak in, I am a great father, okay? And then you write that code, and then every day you're like, hey, I spend time, this is right, okay? I feel my best when I work out every day, okay? You could write that code and collect your evidence, okay? People love when I serve them and give them value, okay? That's that's how others are receiving you. I take action every day towards the AI project. That's a do statement.
Right.
I have a healthy body. And then you can do that. So I have is related to I want, 1D. I do, that's motion, action, 2D. Others receive, that's relational, 3D. I feel, it's ethereal, feelings, 4D. I am, 5D.
Got it.
And everything from literally the entire world can be broken down this way. And so when you're trying to so in my coaching, okay, and I'm trying to serve the world, give someone a tip. Hey, try this out. You've got a problem? Try this out. Tip, 1D, okay? You want to imprint, you want to process, okay? Here's how you upload your codes, 2D.
2D.
You want a plan, like okay, do these codes every day, review on Fridays, and all of the to-dos put in sequence of your life, 3D, okay? If you want to then it's like, well, like what truly makes me happy, okay? That's 4D. And then like, who do you want to be on a fundamental level? That's 5D. So as I'm creating my content as a marketing with your YouTube and Facebook videos, you teach people how to do a thing, okay? Then a $47 product, okay, is how to get over your approach anxiety thing, right? Then the next thing is more like, action plan, how to meet women everywhere, okay? Then it's how to find your perfect girl, how to find that unicorn, 4D. And then 5D is like, how do you be the type of man that deserves all this shit? And so you just keep going up on the layers. So it's crazy once you have this framework, how you can start to organize your thoughts. Because a lot of our like the superfluous, energy that's in our brain is our brain trying to categorize things to make sense.
Right. I think it's a natural thing for us to want to categorize, and that's where you can start managing
right.
it.
And that's the value of vagueness, is our ability to categorize something into one term that has a complicated explanation, but can be understood by saying one thing.
Right. But it can also be an easy way out without the specificity.
Out and without.
Yeah, without. Yeah, shoot.
Go on.
It's an easy way out.
Out to void. You're always in something.
Oh, geez. It's easy to generalize.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to say, I'm trying to not use those words.
Trying to speak clearly?
Yes, I'm trying to speak clearly. Well, we'll drop that. I need some. I should say, for anyone listening, it's not as easy as you think. The natural words that come out of your
is what? Oh. This is difficult to do?
Your natural language is encapsulated with these void words.
Yeah. And so with those generalizations that you're talking about, you're like, so it's easy to generalize. But in that generalization, where you desire more clarity. Okay, so more detail in the positive, where you're like, I want to bring value to people. That's vague, but positive. So we fractal. Well, what do you mean by value? And then you get to see the details. And if you say like, I struggle in bringing people value, well, that's a negative emotion. What do you mean by struggle? What does that look like? And so, so then you start fractaling it down that way. And this is a perfect, so that's what I'm saying. Like when it's hard to speak, the monster's there. Right. And then you say, well, okay, I'm not adding value, not to void. I struggle to add value. Okay. What do you mean by struggle? Well, I make a plan every day to work on this project, and I end up just watching TV. Okay. Well, what is it that you want? Well, I want to have a massive impact. Well, what do you need to do that? I need to pay attention to my project. What do you mean by pay attention? Well, I need to execute my task list. Awesome. Or I need to create a task list. Okay. How would you go about doing that? I got to get my thoughts out as a void. Where do you want to put your thoughts? In a way that they're organized. Okay. How could you do that? Well, I could write them down. Okay. How often would you need to do that in order to get some clarity? So you see like how we're like, no matter where it goes, we're manhandling into a clear directive and understanding of what's going on with your consciousness. This is what I'm talking about, mapping out your consciousness.
You know what would be really neat is to encapsulate this concept into an image somehow, if you could.
I've been doing this for like 8
you see a box and then somehow the image captures this whole thing. Cool.
I should call into my consciousness a human being that is great at creating infographics to help me create visuals for all of this. My gift is my gift is in the auditory. So there are some people like when they meditate, they see things. When I meditate, I hear things.
Oh,
and so my ability to translate my language into physical images, I struggle with that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but
I think it's the coolest thing to take concepts and to put it in a clear infographic. I think that's it's neat. You got it right there in front of you.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm going to be doing on my retreat, I've got my videographer coming. I've got my assistant coach coming, and I've got my intern coming. Who my assistant coach is really good at applying all the things that I teach. My intern is great at documenting it incredibly, and then my videographer is going to capture that. And so I feel like between that, I'm going to be able to give that to someone and say, hey, I need some infographics around that. So I'm like super excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay.
So in every session, in every spiritual session that you have, if you've ever gotten Reiki done, or you've been in a gong bath, or you had like a spiritual reading, you come out of it like with like these new frames, these new feelings, these new images, maybe this new plan, but it's like, okay, well, what next? Like what's the And so that is the challenge with spiritual.
Making it actionable is the key.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's great to visualize it, or it might, instead of auditory, I like to visualize it, but to make it executable is the trick.
Yes, and so we take a look at like, okay, 3D, what's the plan? So for you, is I would come up with a series of codes or affirmations, directives, mantras, whatever you'd like to call them, that when you embody and behave in those ways, it yields stepping closer to the thing that you want. Okay. So that's one. Okay. So that is a directive, a 2D directive. Make that list, okay? And as and as a 3D plan, continue to add to that list as they pop up. I literally have a file on my phone. It's notes where like when I come up with a good code, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna install that one. And then there are some times, like even though I'm doing this all the time, like right here, I just started going off on writing my codes and just like seeing what sticks, seeing what feels good.
That was my next question, is how many do you feel are okay, just still be effective, or do you have to, do just one, or it's okay to do 5?
So
Because I have more than one of these things. We just gave this financial thing in this project as an example, but I've got multiple. As long as you can do one thing at a time and then switch, taking that into account. So what do you say to that?
So what I say is, you can have 3 to 5. You can have 10. It just requires more time. When you're doing your morning uploads and your and then your nightly, like, your nightly evidence collection, right? And so what I do is I vomit just a bunch of them down, and then I take and then I take the 5 that I feel will have like the most impact, and then I'll work on those.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'll give you an example of my brain dump here, so you can kind of see what it looks like. I'm a warrior that prepares his consciousness in the morning. I stretch and exercise my body throughout the day. I am showered and well dressed every day. I spend my downtime with my own mind and creativity. I prepare myself to fight every day. I'm in love with my projects. I am fast to act on my tasks for the day. I am fun and charismatic in conversation. My day is focused on progress and growth. I love spending time on my content creations and organization. I only use my devices in designated areas. My room is a device-free zone. I am a production machine. I spend the first hour of my day to recharge myself. I shine my light every time I engage with anyone. Every day I cleanse and stimulate my body to its original blueprint. I am a conscious creator. I am superhuman. I am my own drug dealer. When I feel the need for more, clarifying that is, when I feel the need for an external source to make me happy, I can breathe and generate that myself. So when I want chips, when I want TV, when I want a nice fat blunt, I have the option to be my own drug dealer. Okay. And so I mean drugs as in the simple pleasures in life that you gravitate towards when you struggle to get what you want. Right. I'm a gift to everyone I touch. I'm a dream broker. I feed myself light in all forms. It's an honor for people to invest with me. I save money. I am a healer. I am courageous. I am the embodiment of Christ consciousness. I am abundant in all areas. I am confident in conflicts. I'm a dream broker. I love facilitating people's dreams. I stretch myself every day in every way. So as I'm creating as I'm creating this stuff, right? Lately, I've been struggling with late night YouTube. Like I'm like diligent during the day, but then after like 9 o'clock, I'll stay up to like 3 a.m.
Hours go by.
And hours go by, and it's like truly like I've got a choice of engaging with my own mind or just zoning into something. So the voice of my mind is like super quiet, and
right.
that, and like, especially I've got 3 big medicine journeys coming up. Like I need to be engaged with my mind. So one of these that I put a star next to is I spend my downtime with my own mind and creativity. I was like, ooh, yeah. So right. Like when I got 30 minutes, typically it's like, oh, let's see how fucked the government is today. Oh, let's see who's fighting in the TJ Dillashaw and that fight is coming up this coming week. Paige Van Zant's fighting too, which is, I mean, she's like, okay, but she's hot.
Dillashaw and Cejudo.
And Cejudo. Yep. And that one, that's a legit fight. Okay, so anyways, you can see my tangents, showing up right now. So now what that does is that gives me that is like, the relationship that I have to screen time. When I have downtime, I spend it with my mind and creativity. And so and I'm like, oh, that's a good one. So then I'm like, I was in an Uber for 30 minutes and I wanted to watch YouTube, but what I did was I worked on some content. Oh, great. Good job, Spence.
Right.
So, like,
Proof.
yeah. So like, I am a conscious creator. That one, when I read that, that already feels like a 5 for me.
Okay.
Like it does. So it's like, if there's some interference there, it's lower on the chain. So let's be more specific, you know? So here we go. All right. I am fast to act on my tasks for the day. So you see how I turned conscious creator into it. And so I am a conscious creator, 5D. And I'm like, like that already feels good. Let's go down until it starts to hurt. Okay. I'm fast. What's that?
No, just what you're saying. I fast execute on my task. Yeah.
Yeah. So so when I sit down and I'm like, okay, I need to send this email out today. And I'm like, okay, boom. I did it in 3 minutes. I was fast to act on my thing, which also supports the idea that I'm a conscious creator. But it was one that when I said it out loud, I was like, yeah, I could see where there's a case. there's a strong case for me for low confidence there.
Right.
So you can take something like an I am statement, which is 5D. I am a conscious creator. Okay, so how do you feel about your creations? I'm in love with my projects and creations. Ooh, okay. So it's like sometimes you like go to sit down and work on content and you're just like, oh my God, I would rather be doing anything else. It's like, well, why? I thought you were in love with your. So now you got a challenge, I believe. Are you in love? Yeah. Like, why are you in love? Because like this is why I'm here. Okay, so what do you want to do about it? All right, well, you get on it.
Right.
So what ends up? So you just keep.
So you want these things to be slightly challenging enough that it makes you execute. If you make it too easy,
right?
Then I'm a cool guy. Or
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm a cool guy. You're not really pushing yourself to take action.
Right. You want to find one of those codes that on a scale of 1 to 5 is below a 3. It's like 3, or 2.
And execute to build the confidence up.
Yep.
And it's supporting your goal, and it's supporting your goals.
Yeah. So sometimes the belief changes. Like I'm fun and charismatic in conversation. Well, there are some times that I go into a deep work mode, dude. And like, I'm literally just in my house for 8 weeks at a time. And then I go out and try to socialize. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? Like, I was a wallflower. And it's like, all right, let's beef that up. And when it's something like that, it's just like muscle memory. Give me 3-4 days with that mantra as I collect evidence. I'm like, okay, there it is again. Pour the concrete.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
So what's dope is, as you become a master at these, I gave you just, again, we touched the surface, top 5% we went through today.
Sure.
Once you learn these, what happens is what we're doing is we're cognitively processing while we're slowing down time. Okay. And as you get better at this, it starts happening in real time. So as you're going throughout the day, this not only, in addition to this functionality, it's also happening in real time. So your ability to create and correct just becomes incredible. It just, again, it's an upward
spiral.
But
you have to do it, and on a daily basis, the repetition, the practice to continually fine tune it and start building those the correct synapse channels.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
this is awesome.
So let's talk about specifically like the takeaway for you. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about 2D action and 3D plan. Okay. So or actually let's start with 4D intention. The intention for you is to gain clarity on the things that you need to do in order for yourself to feel empowered and free to apply your excellence to bringing value to the world and to yourself and your family.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the intention, right? 3D, what is the plan? The plan is to spend like 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night, 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at, and a lot of time in the beginning of the day and at the end of the day to check in on how your machine's working. Okay? That's the plan.
Which is the journaling with the I am, but right. Yeah.
So 2D is what you're going to do is you're going to make a list of the codes that you would like to that you would like to embody, and then you're going to choose 3 to 5 codes that are like, hey man, if these 3 to 5 codes are going to have the most impact on my success. Okay, you're going to choose the 3 to 5 that have the most impact. Then you're going to read them individually in the morning and rate them. Okay, 1 to 5. You're going to repeat each of them 10 times as you're saying it with emotion and context. And then at the end of the day, you're just going to collect evidence. 1 thing, 10 things, just reflect on the day. And what's cool is you're going to notice yourself throughout the day sensitized to collecting that evidence.
Right.
When you're looking,
that's cool.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying that's cool. I did hear something similar to one of the ones you said. I don't remember where, was about I give joy to people I speak with, or something similar to that.
Yeah.
And I actually have kept that in mind. My daughter was just asking me, Dad, why do you talk to everybody that you meet? And whether I'm like, we have cheat day on Fridays, we get In-N-Out Burger, or just walking down the street, some stranger walking by. So why do you do that? And one, it's good. I know it's good for me to just engage, with people. But I had that one thing stuck in my mind, is that I give a little bit of joy or value to people that I meet. So I've kept that in mind, and it actually did make me, whereas otherwise would just walk by or say nothing, actually engage with people. And, it brightens everyone's day a little bit. Just a small little moment in time you're sharing with somebody, stranger.
Yeah.
And you have a minute of enjoyable contact with another human being. And,
Yeah.
So I think this is great.
Yeah. And so that's representative of a code that is like already got concrete in it.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't need to write that one down because I'm kind of already been doing that anyway.
Right. I'm trying to see that which code. I am fun and care. Something about I bring light to everyone I touch, or something like that.
Something similar to that. Yeah, there was something you read there that like, oh yeah, I remember hearing about that.
I shine light every time I engage with anyone.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. And then the other one was I'm a gift to everyone I touch. Was another one too. So it's and then a way to manage. And so like now let's talk about what's your drug. So sometimes your drug is just dragging ass, when you actually have to do something. And so that happens because we experience a lot of anxiety. So like, what's the plan for that? Sit for 5 minutes, complete silence. Allow the brain to just blah everywhere, like a 5-minute recess for all the kids in your space. And then 5 minutes of just like, what were the things that I recall about that?
Right.
And I
think that's good, because that does happen. Mental distraction right? Probably everyone suffers from that, but I definitely do too.
Yeah.
I mean,
distractions avoid. You're always paying attention to something. So mental chaos.
Mental chaos. Okay.
Yeah. And so to reduce the electricity, you gotta first kind of like let them play. You know, if my dog's anxious, it like and he's like, you know, moving around the house and all that stuff. It's like, yo, lay down, lay down, lay down. It's like, no, he needs to play. Like, go play, and then he can. You know? And so that's what it is. So we have a plan for who are you? That's with your codes. Okay. Mm-hmm. We have a plan for like, what do you want? That will also come through your journaling of just like your brain dump in the morning. Mm-hmm. Okay. What's the plan? Okay. So 3D, like, you know, what's standing in your way is like this cycle of in the morning and at night. And then what are your steps? You're going to do the brain dump of codes, and you're going to keep that running. And then you're going to do the, you know, the upload in the morning and the evidence at night.
Yeah.
There you go.
Awesome. So this is great. I'm going to, that's something that I can do that stuff right away. I have been trying to write stuff down. So don't say trying. Yeah. So this is great. I'm going to do it. I'm going to start out just writing a bunch down like you did, and then trying to impactful ones.
Dope. And so if that medicine journey is like, if like that's not a route that you want to go, that's totally cool. What I would suggest then is, why don't you do this for, you know, 5 to 7 days, and let's touch base and see where you're at. And like, because it might come to a point where it's like, that's a struggle. And then it's like, hey, try this for a month and then let's talk. Or it might be like, yo, dude, the breakthrough has been fucking crazy. It's like, okay, well then let's take a look at the next steps of like, how do we take this to a deeper level?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Awesome.
So yeah. Well, I would like to use all words now. So we could step out of the.
Okay. Yeah. It's like stepping out of the matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, this is fantastic, man. This is really cool. I think putting things in this context definitely ties up loose ends, loose thoughts, leaking energy, and, you know, does what you do naturally, your natural process, but put some focus, intention.
Yeah, some mindfulness to it. The secret to this world, man, is mindfulness. Like,
because, you know, frankly, people always say that, be mindful, intentional. I've read that a million times, but okay.
Yeah, it's vague as fuck. Well, what do you mean by mindful?
It's vague, and like, I don't know what to do with that.
Right.
I don't know what to do with it.
Right. So like, be mindful. I don't know what to do with it. That's avoid. Okay.
Right.
What does mindful mean? And it's like, all right, well, there we go. And this is how I've discovered this is, first of all, I was raised by 2 incredible, intelligent parents, emotionally intelligent parents, very like methodical. Again, my dad is a project manager. And so he's pragmatic at like the way he speaks, the way he thinks. It's super pragmatic and linear,
executing,
and brilliant. But he's also creative because he does, woodwork and stuff. My mom is, comes from a family of like just open door policy, loves people. She's got friends everywhere. She's really social. She's super empathic. And so the combination of being wired that way growing up, it is what gave me the foundation to like kind of discover life in finding answers. And through this modality or this operating system of precise language, you're able to be like, well, I'm told to be mindful. Well, what does that mean? Okay, well, let's go down the rabbit hole. Right. One of the things as a side note, that you didn't run into this too much, but it's so funny. People will be in a precise language session. Well, today we didn't really talk about deep things. We talked about like vision and stuff like that. So it didn't get like super personal.
Right.
So, but sometimes people are sitting there, they're trying to think of something, and they're just like, and you can, and it starts building and building,
Right.
and it starts,
Right.
you know, and so like, I'm like, hey, you know, they're like, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure it out. Or it's like, I'm struggling with this. I'm struggling with this. I'm struggling with this. And I'm like, well, how about you just ask, I would like some assistance on this. You know, so instead of being like, well, there's no clear way to say it. You know, how do how do you say, oh, well, I can't say, all you
Right.
gotta do is ask, hey, I'd like some assistance. And isn't that just like life? Like we
Yeah.
struggle so much when a lot of times all you gotta do is just be like, hey, can you help me?
Ask for help.
The answer's right there.
That
You know?
happens a lot. That happens a lot. Yeah.
And other times people will go down a rabbit hole and hit a monster that they're just like not ready to address right now. And so, you know, they get to that point and they're like, what they want to say is like, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about this. And
Right.
so they're like, you know, how do I clarify that? Say, I would like to talk about something else. Okay, sweet. Else is vague. So what do you mean by that? What do you want to talk about? And then, and then it's like, oh my God, I was just battling this demon. And wait, I can just say, I want to focus on something else. Yeah. What do you want to focus about? And then you go from
Right.
there. So it's like, it's so interesting how people just like forget that there's support out there for them. Like
Right.
humans are supposed to do that for each other. So it's like, all you had to do is ask, you know?
That's I can imagine the conversations you get into.
Oh, dude, like it's like, and again, like, I can't wait. I can't wait to get into some deeper stuff of like where we actually have conversations with your monsters and show you how to manhandle them in just the
Right.
most loving, gentle way. It's the perfect mixture of just like intense divine masculine and intense divine feminine to deal with the things that you struggle with the most. It's fucking beautiful. So
That's
we get that.
interesting. Yeah. 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 So like you said, we only touched 5% of this whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
But this is very insightful. So this is the best part is I don't have to just think of insightful and then not know what to do. So I got some stuff I can actually do here.
right. Yeah.
Actually write something down.
Right. And you can actually observe the progress. Whereas people are just like, state your mantras in your head. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm happy. Like, nah. Like, yeah. Right. But like that, like that's like getting new tires on a car and expecting it to go faster. I mean, it'll help,
Right.
you know, but like
Right.
you got to do the whole thing, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Awesome, man.
All right, dude.
Awesome. So yeah, let's check in, you know, like 5 to 7 days. I'll start doing this, touch base. And yeah, I think this would be cool to broadcast this out as a podcast. And yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, I'll send you, I mean, it's probably going to take like 30 minutes to render. But I'll send you a link to this and you got my full permission to do whatever you'd like with it, man.
Awesome, man.
Fantastic.
All right, man.
All right. It's been great.
Right. Take care, man.
Talk to you.
Okay. Bye.